Ryan Garvin, did you break the microphone? Somebody dangling. So Jeff's going to have to work that out. But we'll get it started here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Again, it's Alex Barth from 98.5thesportshub.com with you for the next 3 hours. We are going to have Keegan Stiefel with us for part of the program. He'll join us for the middle hour of these three to talk. We'll do a little bit of everything. Bruins, Celtics, Patriots, Red Sox. We're going to do a little bit of everything throughout the show. 617-779-0985. But I do want to start where I picked off, if you were kind enough to tune in on Friday night when I filled in for Joe Murray, with the Boston Celtics and just this Jaylen Brown thing that has seemingly taken on a life of its own. And some more developments yesterday. And I'll start where I started on what I was talking about on Friday night, which is what the Celtics end up doing with Jaylen Brown is not the most interesting part of this to me anymore. And I still think it's massively important. Obviously, it impacts the future of the organization, all of that. It's kind of how we got here and why this is all happening, because I think it speaks to a bigger point about the direction that the Celtics are going and what they view the team as, what Joe Mazzulla views the team as, what Brad Stevens views the team as, what Bill Chisholm and this new ownership views the team as. Is this about cutting money and a way to build the roster without having to deal with the aprons, and they can't have two Supermax guys on the roster? They obviously didn't operate like that before. They have both these guys now. They both signed extensions to stay here. That would be a new development. Is this about, as Brian Robb kind of talked about on Felger and Maz the other day, is this about finally some accountability for what's happened in the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years? And I will tread lightly here because they did win a title, and you can't take that away from them. And I give them credit for it. But you had a loss to an inferior Heat team. You had a bad loss to what was, I still believe, an inferior Knicks team, in which they blew 2 20-point leads in that series, allowed it to get to a point where Jason Tatum tore his Achilles. That series should have never gotten to that point. And then a loss to an inferior Sixers team this year. Now, if that's what this is, or at least in part what this is, that would be worrying, because I do not think Jaylen Brown is chiefly to blame for that. Sure, he gets a little bit of the pie. He was not good in that Game 7 against Miami after Jason Tatum hurt his ankle. You blow a 20-point lead, everybody's complicit. I thought he did his part against the Sixers this year. That is not a Jaylen Brown issue. That is first and foremost, I would say, a Joe Mazzulla issue. These early embarrassing exits in the playoffs. Is this simply about they just don't think Jaylen Brown's that good? Now, some wild stuff has been said about Jaylen Brown in the last, 36 hours? You had the report from Bobby Marks that an analytics person told him Jaylen Brown was no better, I think it was a 7th best player on a team. Jaylen Brown has since responded to that, and I want to get in. He's starting to voice his own opinions on this on social media, on Twitter. We can get to that. But is that part of it? This all just feels like an unforced error by the Boston Celtics. This all feels like, they got in on Giannis for whatever reason, and now the cat is out of the bag. The Pandora's box has been opened. Jaylen Brown knows you try to trade him again, and you risk blowing up this duo, unless that was the plan all along, which unless Jaylen Brown specifically wanted out. It's been reported he didn't ask for a trade. Now, maybe he kind of leaned that way, but it's been reported he did not outright ask for a trade, request a trade. If Jaylen Brown wants to be here, I think you keep Jaylen Brown. I think that's the best course of action. The roster still needs to change. You need to add around him. Can you move players like Derek White or Sam Hauser to get a big man in here? Move some of those picks. Jason Tatum is about to turn 30. This is the prime of his window. You cannot regress right here and go back, Tatum will be 29 in March. You're talking about his age 28, 29, 30 seasons. You should not be compiling picks right now. You should be loading up to get the best out of Jason Tatum while he's at his best. And by the way, the rest of the NBA continues to make moves. The trade right before I came on the air, it's probably about 10 minutes ago here. According to Shams, the Charlotte Hornets are sending Miles Bridges, a 2029 first and a 2027 second to the Phoenix Suns for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and a 2023 first. So the other moves are happening. Other stars are getting traded. I don't think Miles Bridges is quite Jaylen Brown, but he's a good player. So the Celtics, if they are going to make a move, like you're running out of suitors. You're running out of suitors, you're running out of options, and you don't want to end up trading Jaylen Brown for pennies on the dollar again as Jason Tatum is entering his prime. This is not something that feels like it needs to be a reset. This is something that they should be loading up right now. So if you want to join us on that, 617-779-0985. I don't know if you're set back there, Jeff, or not.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're good.
What just happened? If I sounded a little in and out there, I just witnessed a rearranging of the control room.
So when I jumped on to get prepared for this show, I went and moved the mic ever so. I did not, grip it hard or anything. I just slightly moved it, and it just snapped right in my hand. I have witnesses to say that I didn't forcefully rip this thing off the.
Okay, Ryan Garvin is still here.
Able to swap it out thanks to the help of Dennis.
So you took the Milliken Majori mic.
Yes, correct.
And moved it over. I did not know that those parts could come apart. That was impressive that you're able to do that real quick. Ryan Garvin is holding up the other microphone like a prized fish right now. Just another day at sports. Meanwhile, the TVs aren't.
None of the TVs are working.
Is it working in there?
No, none of them.
So I came in earlier and I noticed McCarthy and Hurley had this chips commercial on. It's this ad for chips at Stop and Shop. The other TV's just off. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Maybe they paused it. I heard them driving in. They were breaking down soccer plays on the TV as the games were going on. Like, was that a replay? Because there hasn't been a game yet today. First game is South Africa and Canada. It starts at 3 o'clock. So we've got no TVs. The mic stands are falling apart. But we'll be here. We'll be here for you for the next 3 hours. As long as this microphone's working, as long as the transmitter's working, as long as the board's working, they all are. We're going to be here. We're going to handle the next 3 hours. Again, I want to get into some more of this Jaylen Brown stuff, and specifically his comments. He's making some good points. Whether or not he should be saying them and what that means for his trade value is another conversation. We can do both. But he is making some very good points on social media. A rare thing to see. A person making good points on a social media platform. If you can believe that, it's happening. Jaylen Brown is doing it, or was doing it yesterday. He hasn't said anything since he had like 4 or 5 tweets last night. He had the one that said, I love cats a few days ago when this first all broke. That was something. And then he had 1, 2, 3, 4 last night, which ironically come under his pinned tweet, the now famous, the energy is about to shift. And the energy is shifting once again around the Boston Celtics. The Boston Bruins making some moves this weekend as well. They had their draft. I want to pick Jeff's brain on that. As a big Bruins fan and see where he's at with what the team is doing. Slightly different strategy than what we've seen them do in the past. We got an update on Christian Gonzalez this morning. Kind of an update from Mike Reese. We'll touch on that. And, of course, it's Red Sox-Yankees. The Red Sox could sweep the Yankees. I want to care. I want to care, and I'm going to find a way to care. And maybe it doesn't mean anything beyond this weekend. But a bad, all-time bad Red Sox team is about to sweep what should be a contending Yankees team. That should still be fun. You should still enjoy that as a Red Sox fan. All of that, plus your calls, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth taking you up until 5 o'clock on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, Alex Barth taking you up until 5 o'clock. You want to join us, 617-779-0985, starting off with the Celtics. I'm getting my overarching feelings on the Jaylen Brown saga is that if they trade him at this point, they're going to make the team worse. Certainly in the short term. I don't think they're going to get what he's worth. And the way they're going to get the closest to doing that is going to be by getting picks. And obviously, picks don't help you right now. I just talked about Jason Tatum, 28 years old, in his prime. Unless you flip those picks for players, you have to wait for them to come back to you. And, flipping those picks for players, you're hoping to get what kind of player? Jaylen Brown? It's the mystery box over the boat, if you're familiar with that reference. So I'm just more interested in why they've gotten here, what their strategy is, all of that. And Jaylen Brown's been quiet through a lot of this. Let me rephrase that. He had his comments the other day, just in general about ESPN and how they've treated him at that conference in France. A lot has been said about Jaylen Brown, the player, as this has gone on, and him having less value and him not being as good as everybody thinks he is. And that's the kind of stuff he has responded to. We hadn't heard a ton of that. And then he comes out on Twitter yesterday with some responses. So first off, he quote tweeted NBA Central, which shared a Bobby Marks quote. Bobby Marks quote, "I had a team tell me we view Jaylen Brown as the 7th best player on a team." Again, I had an analytics guy tell me we view Jaylen Brown as the 7th best player on a team, not in the league, on a team. That is, if you've watched any of the Celtics in the last 10 years, ridiculous, obviously. Jaylen Brown, quote, tweets that and says, analytics nowadays used to discredit and control... Analytics nowadays are, I think he meant to say are, used to discredit and control narratives. Roll the ball out. None of these guys better than me on both ends of the floor. Who does he work for? I think talking about either Bobby Marks and his connection to ESPN, who Jaylen Brown has had problems with, or maybe who does this analytics guy work for? What team viewed him as the 7th best player on the team? 7th best player on an all-star team, maybe. I think that's about where Jaylen Brown belongs. Top 20, maybe top 15 player. I know he was 6th in MVP voting last year. There were some guys that were hurt. It was also just kind of a unique setup, playing in a weak conference, got to be a number 1, but good player. A few minutes later, Jaylen Brown, nobody has won more combined regular season and playoff games since I entered the league 10 years ago. Some extenuating circumstances there, but sure. A little bit after that. And these are all in the span of about, he tweeted the first one at 3:58, and then the last one at 4:25. So these are all in the span of about half an hour, 45 minutes. Mentions nobody's won more combined games than him since he entered the league. And then he says, separate tweet, analytics have/are ruining the game. We playing AI hoops. Thank you, Jaylen. This is where I'm with him as an anti-analytics guy. I have long said analytics at this point, maybe they were supposed to be something earlier on that wasn't as, I don't know, I don't want to say bad, but like, you look at what's happened in baseball, you look at what's happening in basketball, something not as overpowering as they are right now. Maybe they were, but I think they've become a way for people to justify things in a lot of senses outside people who talk about the sport, to justify things that they can't defend otherwise. You find a stat, you create a stat to fit your argument, not come up with the argument and then find the stats to back it up. Or people inside the sport to justify things. Looking at the Celtics head coach, Joe Mazzulla, and punches some numbers in to justify all these threes that looks good on a spreadsheet, but not in reality. And then one more tweet from Jaylen Brown. Bobby Marks actually replied to him, that first one, when he said analytics nowadays used to discredit and control narratives. Bobby Marks replied, but what wasn't posted was the 2 minutes of saying I'm not an analytics person, but an eye test guy, that I would want Jaylen Brown on my team, that you impact winning, mentions the record, is a top 10 player and would help any team looking to win a championship. That part, of course, didn't make it. That's the media in 2026. Some fairness to that. And Jaylen Brown quotes that and says, state your source, which I doubt Bobby Marks is going to do. But clearly Jaylen wants to know who said that, and it's a ridiculous claim. I know the analytics are not as high on Jaylen Brown. Look, I think Jaylen Brown, from the NBA consensus, is a little overrated. The 7th best player on a team? Get the hell out of here with that. That's way too much. But some insight into where Jaylen Brown is at, and it seems like he's going to want a chance. He's going to use this as fuel to prove everybody wrong. Now, does he believe he can do that here, or does he believe he needs to be the number 1 on a team? I think Jaylen Brown's a really, really good number 2. I think he's a 1B. I have my questions about him as a 1A, even with what we saw last year. I think he's too inconsistent. I think he's too ball dominant. I also just don't think he plays to his strengths, and that might be a Celtics thing. I've said this about Jaylen Brown for a long time. Jaylen Brown wants to play the super skilled game with the handle and these off-balance jump shots and things like that. Jaylen Brown, when he's at his best, to me, this is a guy that he's listed at 6'6". I would take the over on that. 223, I would take the over on that. He's big. He's athletic. He's powerful, strong. He's more often than not going to be the strongest guy on the floor. Put your head down and go to the basket. Like, that's when Jaylen Brown's at his best, when he is just exerting his will, when he is putting his head down and driving to the basket, making people get in front of him. He doesn't do that nearly enough. Now, maybe that's the Celtics and their three-point philosophy. Could very well be that. But whatever it is, I'd like to see him do that more. And that's part of the reason I have a question about him as a 1A. But as a 1B, he's terrific. Terrific. And I think the Celtics should do all they can, should do everything they can to keep him around, to bridge that relationship. But it might be too little too late. This is the second time that they've tried to trade him, and he's a guy that's going to take that personally. We know that. He's a very passionate guy, very prideful guy. And is he going to use this to fuel him to help the Celtics? Or is it going to be somewhere else? I heard in terms of landing spots, too, they're drying up. We heard Charlotte is a possibility. They now, it seems like, are just selling off and starting over with the trading LaMelo Ball and then trading Bridges. They'll build around Brandon Miller, would be my guess. Portland, well, if Portland's not going to trade, and this is kind of what's been out there, they're not going to trade Avita. They're not going to trade. They want guys to build around Jaylen Brown. They're not going to trade Klingon. They're not going to give you any of those guys that would be a legitimate replacement. There's been some stuff that Utah maybe isn't as involved as previously thought. Denver potentially not being a real landing spot. So you're losing suitors too, which really does not help. But they're going to have to figure out something to do. 617-779-0985 if you want to weigh in on what the Celtics should do with Jaylen Brown. Let's go to Elliot in Boston. Elliot, what's going on?
Barth, how you doing? Sorry, I didn't hear the click. In regards to Jaylen Brown, what really sucks about these situations is that now it's almost like you have to find reasons why you need to move Jaylen Brown, where, like you said, as a 1B, on the wing with Jason Tatum, I mean, it seems really simple that you kind of just work around the edges when you have those two. This really seems to be driven financially. I'm not sure that the team wanted to give him that contract when they gave it to him. At the time, he was the highest paid player in the league, while not being the best player in the league. But I understand that that's just where the economy of the NBA is. But I just don't understand. If you're that close to getting a Giannis deal done to the point where reporting that night was that it was favoring the Celtics, I just really don't understand how, if you're Brad Stevens, you don't push all your chips into the middle of the table and get the deal done to avoid plan B, which is now you're scrambling to find a deal when it really seems like the deal that you want isn't necessarily out there right now.
So, Elliot, I've been asking people this, and I think it's all a great point. Knowing what you know now, Do you think the Celtics, if they could go back, would throw Ugo and another pick in that offer to the Bucks?
Absolutely. I mean, I just, with everything that's going on now, it really, I mean, when Brad has made deals, they kind of come out of nowhere. So for that to be leaked through the draft and then not done, it just, somebody messed something up there where either communication broke down, you didn't take Miami's offer that serious to the point where if the alternative is, hey, listen, to avoid all this, put another pick, put Hugo in there, and the deal's done, absolutely, I think they do that.
Thanks for the call, Elliot. Yeah, I'm a big Brad Stevens fan. He might have botched this. And this was the one that you could not botch because you're talking about, again, the prime of Jason Tatum. And what is this team going to look like when he is at his best? He's going to be a year removed from that Achilles injury. He's 28 years old. This should be the best version of Jason Tatum these next 2 to 3 years that you are going to get. This, more than any other time, you want to put him in the best position to succeed. That's probably with Jaylen Brown. And if Jaylen Brown's okay with it, you keep him here for it. Now, I've said this all along. If Jaylen Brown went to Brad and said, Brad, I want out, like this isn't going to work, then you move him because you don't want a disgruntled Jaylen Brown here for that time, making things difficult. But if he's good with it, you got to find a way to keep him here. Let's go to Chip in Connecticut. Chip, how we doing?
Good. How are you, Alex?
Good.
Calling about the Celtics and really the Knicks. The Knicks kind of came out of nowhere the last 2 years and won a championship, and they have no max players, right? And to me, it's kind of like how the Devil Rays snuck up on everybody and put together a team that competed for championships. So the Celtics ownership are Wall Street guys. They look at the team and they're the bottom line, right? They look at it and say, we can't have two max players that go out in the first round. So, whatever Brad Stevens can do is great, but I think the pressure is coming from the top that they're going to follow the model of the rest of the league and not have any max players after a few years.
So that all makes sense, Chip. Good points. Do you think that that's what they should be doing?
I don't think they should be, but we're fans. We don't own the team.
Right.
The owners have a whole different perspective, right, than what we do as fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the call. But I think we as fans also have a right to say, you're a steward of this organization. This means a lot to the city. And, you got to do your best to put a winning product on the floor. Maybe they believe replicating the Knicks is the way to do that. I would say, similar to the Rays, it's actually a good comp, Chip. I think the Knicks are an anomaly. I don't think the Knicks are something you are going to follow. It is still a superstar league. I think the Knicks came through a very weak Eastern Conference and then got a very young Spurs team that was not ready for that moment. The Spurs had the lead for 76% of that series in terms of time, in terms of minutes on the clock, and lost because they were too young, too wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, all that. And that series, to me, was more about the Spurs losing it than the Knicks winning it. I would not want to see this. Now, if you want to take a lesson away from the Knicks, I think depth is more important than it used to be in the NBA. And you can't throw away depth. That's more of a factor than it was 5-10 years ago. But the way they've drafted, and they've hit on some of these guys. Admitted, Ugo Gonzalez has gotten dumped on a lot this week. I don't think that's necessarily fair. They put him in a bad spot. There might be something there. I still would have traded him. And when I say something, I mean he might be like a good rotational player. Maybe he ends up being a high-level six-man, kind of like a Peyton Pritchard type. I know different position, but just overall role. If you can keep drafting like that and finding guys like Derek White, who I think when they first got him right, was kind of thrown away from San Antonio, was not making a lot of money, did not have a big role at the time. They developed him. If Brad can keep finding guys like that, you should be able to manage two supermaxes. And that's not easy. The NBA draft is not easy to hit on picks late. It's not easy to hit on picks early. But it's really not easy to hit on picks late. But Brad Stevens has kind of shown an ability to do that. Now, they need to do it at other positions besides wing. You need to get a big. You need to get another guard. But I don't think just fully following the Knicks is the way to do it. I think the Knicks are an anomaly. I don't think the Knicks are a blueprint. You want to weigh in on the Celtics some more? 617-779-0985. I see you guys lining up. We will get to your calls after this. It's Alex Barth in on the Sports Hub.
Austin's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Back here on 98.5, Alex Barth taking you up to 5 o'clock. Opening up with some Celtics talk, the latest on Jaylen Brown. If you missed it, another trade in the NBA today. The rest of these teams making moves, making things happen. Charlotte Hornets are trading Miles Bridges, a 2029 first and a 2027 second to the Phoenix Suns for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and a 2033 first round pick. But again, it's not so much what ultimately happens with Jaylen Brown that interests me. That is important. I'm more curious as to why we got here, how we got here. I think there are two people that, or person group, however you want to define it, that are more responsible for this than the amount they're getting talked about. One was ownership. We had a caller earlier bring that up. Let's go to Carlos in Worcester. He's going to bring up the other person I think should be talked about more in this regard. Carlos, thanks for the call, man. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
So what I was going to actually make 2 points.
Yep.
And the first point is, it's a real simple solution. Why don't we change the head coach? Because I believe the New York Knicks
Great question.
did that, and they won a championship. They fired Tom Thibodeau, which is a great head coach, but he was wearing out, the starters. And this guy came in and gave the bench players the confidence to go in there and win the games for them. And another point I wanted to say is that you can still win a championship with your team, because the Spurs, I believe, just lost because they were too relaxed. They had a 20-point lead, just like the Celtics did, and started shooting threes, and they lost the series. And the Knicks won that without Anthony Towns, actually, the last 2 games. That's it. Thank you so much for taking my call, guys.
Thanks for the call, Carlos. I think Missoula is a bigger part of this. And if they're doing this because they don't feel like Missoula can win with this core, or because they need a fall guy for the shortcomings that I believe were driven primarily by Missoula, it's a mistake. There's been so many instances. You even hear some of the reporters talking about it where they kind of back themselves into it. It doesn't end up, it's not supposed to be their take from the beginning, but it turns into, this would be a lot simpler if Joe Missoula wasn't the coach. I thought this back and forth, Brian Robb was on Felger and Maz on Friday. Great interview. I thought this back and forth with Felger and B-Robb was excellent. I'm going to play the whole thing. It's a little over a minute. It's a little long, but there's some really good stuff in here. And just to set it up, was a couple questions in, and Felger gets, again, the thing that I'm getting to. Not what's going to happen, not what's the trade going to be. They did also talk about that. You can go back and find it in the Felger and Maz podcast. It's why. Why is Jaylen Brown suddenly on the trade block, and why are they maybe considering taking pennies on the dollar for him? Jeff, let's hear it.
Why are they doing this?
It's a fascinating question. I mean, we talked about it a bit last week. I do think there's genuine curiosity of being like, is Jaylen Brown at a point now with this core where we can't build the team we want with 2 supermax guys when Jaylen Brown is not a top 10 player like Jason Tatum? So do we need to construct this roster in a different way where it's more centered around Tatum, where it's guys that are, more money invested in the front court, whatever it might be? I think they're looking at all their options on that front.
Do you think it's that? Is it possible they're sick of him, or Tatum is sick of him?
I would be surprised if it's involves Tatum at all. I know he hasn't said anything in these situations, but historically, when we've talked to him about it, like he likes to be kept out of this stuff. He doesn't want to be involved, period. And that's something he really hasn't done throughout his career. Now, that's not stopping him from changing his mind on that front right now. He could obviously step out and make his feelings known to him, but it would surprise me if he did that. But I don't think it's involved in terms of their relationship. I think this is just the totality of what's happened to this team in the last couple of postseasons, what happened in the 2023 postseason, and what their options are to build this team going forward. And if they don't think they can put the pieces around those guys to make them viable contenders,
I just can't. B-Robb.
So you can stop it there. Felger interrupts them. They go on a tangent. That last part where B-Robb gives a couple different reasons what it could be, but kind of settling on this could be about 3 bad playoff exits in 4 years. And yes, there's a championship in the middle, but 3 bad playoff exits in 4 years. Absolutely, somebody should be held accountable for that, and it's been too long since somebody's been held accountable for that. But that person being Jaylen Brown would be a major, major misstep by the organization. Look, Jaylen Brown had his issues in the playoffs in all of those years. I'm not going to say he's blameless. But when you blow 2 20-point leads to the same team, back-to-back games, when you blow a 3-1 lead and you're starting G League players in Game 7, in what ended up being a close game, in which you gave the other team essentially like a 5-minute head start, that's got to fall on the coach. And if they want to rectify the problems, moving Jaylen Brown, now maybe that's how they're justifying this because they botched the Giannis thing and they know they have to trade him. But you move on from Joe Mazzulla. That's how you rectify that. He's shown, and he's not the only coach that has this problem. You look what happened with Mitch Johnson with the Spurs. These analytics coaches cannot handle the game management that's needed in the playoffs, and they get out-coached. I know he just won Coach of the Year. Go look back at the track record of guys that won Coach of the Year. They generally don't keep those jobs very long because it's a regular season award, and at the end of the day, when you have a roster like the Celtics have, I don't care what you do in the regular season. Show up, roll the ball out, get a top 3 seed. And they've done that, and credit to them for that. But this is the Boston Celtics. The bar should be higher than an impressive regular season. Not to cross sports. If that's what we're going to do, then they're what the Bruins were for 15 years. They're a dominant regular season team that is always competitive, that is a tough out in the playoffs, but still usually gets put out. And there's one title mixed in there. That's what the Bruins were for a long time. And people talked about the standard should be higher. And they absolutely should be for the Boston Celtics. I'm not going to hold up on a pedestal, and I don't think Celtics fans should, what they've done in the regular season. Because when you have 2 top 15 players, it should be about the postseason. And they have been knocked out in far too early than they should have. I'd say certainly the last 2 years. I'm not going to say they got knocked out earlier than they should have in 23. That was the conference finals. But that was still a series they should have won. The Heat being there was kind of wild to begin with, and there probably was a superior team they could have lost to at that point. But they've underperformed in the playoffs. And the way in which they've underperformed, I think that points to coaching. I don't know. I mean, at what point during that Knicks series 2 years ago were people saying, well, they're just not talented enough? No, that wasn't the issue. It was the strategy. It was their inability to close. It was the mental makeup. That's on coaching. Could they have used more talent against the Sixers? Yes, especially in the front court. They need a legit center. They don't have one. But they had a 3-1 lead. I don't think talent was the issue in that series. I really don't. It's a bit like, had they gone a little further and gotten to the Knicks or the Pistons or the Spurs or whoever, that's where talent could have been an issue. Because this team was less talented. They move on from Porzingis. They move on from Holiday. Obviously, this team is less talented than they've had. They still should have been able to beat the Sixers. I believe that. So it's a good point to question Mazzulla's employment. And if, to go back to the point, are they here? If it is an ownership thing, and to the caller earlier, I think his name was Chip, the Wall Street guys can't justify early exits with 2 max contract players, which in a sense is fair. Like, I understand the logic behind that. Certainly. But if they don't have the early exits, and I'm not saying championships, but if they don't have the early exits, if they're not getting knocked out in the nature in which they've been getting knocked out, are we here? Is this an issue, or is ownership maybe more inclined to run it back? And instead of saying, well, we're having these early exits with these high-priced players, we can't afford that. Is it, if Bill Chisholm grew up a Celtics fan, if he is this guy that wants to be the steward of the organization, is it, well, we're close. Okay, we'll keep spending because we're close and we think we're some minor moves from getting there. And if Joe Mazzulla is the reason he got knocked out early, then this does go back to Mazzulla. So the whole thing, the machinations of it, to me, are just fascinating, of why we got here, of who's mainly at fault, of where they're going to go. And it's when the season starts, the 2 people there's going to be the most pressure on, wherever Jaylen Brown ends up, are Joe Mazzulla and, unfortunately for him, Hugo Gonzalez, because they wouldn't include him in that trade. But however this ends, the why is way more fascinating to me. 617-779-0985. You want to weigh in on it? I do want to talk a little Bruins, too. They had an interesting weekend. I sort of liked what they did. I'm not as familiar with the draft stuff. I liked a couple of trades that they made. We'll get to that. You want to weigh in on that as well. And we'll have Keegan Stiefel joining us at 3 o'clock to do a little bit of everything. We'll go through it all with Keegan. We'll do that. But again, your call, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Bruins, but we do have a Celtics call, so we'll take care of that. It's Alex Barth taking you up till 5 o'clock. 617-779-0985 if you want to join us as Tom in Andover is. Tom, what's up, man?
I went to game one and watched that game, and when I left the arena, I clearly felt we were the much better team.
Talking about the Celtics Sixers?
I'm talking about the Celtics game one against the Sixers, yeah. I mean, when you leave there, you're like, they're going to kill this team. They were just so more dominant, and you mentioned in talent. They look like the much more talented team, at least in game one.
Yeah, I think that was indicative of what they were. And then Embiid came back, and the Celtics couldn't adjust to it.
Right, that's exactly. You think that one other player that makes a difference, and that's what we need. We need one other player to make a difference going forward. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? It was very disappointing. I'm a big Celtics fan my whole life, and I just couldn't believe the next few games.
Tom, thanks for the call. You should be disappointed. You should absolutely be disappointed. And I don't think they need a Joel Embiid type player, but they need another big. And I think they can get that without trading Jaylen Brown. And by the way, a lot of the teams we're hearing about him potentially being traded to maybe don't want to trade their big men because they're trying to add Jaylen Brown to that player. It is not usually when you're trading a player the caliber of Jaylen Brown, it's a team that's older, that's past their window, that is trying to jumpstart their rebuilding, going to the bottom to get back to the top. It's the Celtics trading away Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, right? Which emotionally hurt. Loved Paul Pierce, my all-time favorite Celtic. Never wanted to see him wear another uniform. Ultimately, it worked out, and I understand why they did it. You're usually, because those players usually get traded for picks because teams are trying to add those players. The teams that are adding those players are coming into their window. So a player-for-player trade for Jaylen Brown is going to be very difficult. It was kind of a unique situation with Milwaukee that it felt like was even on the table. And I just don't think you're going to get some of these other teams doing that. For instance, this last night from Danny Morang, who covers the Trailblazers, this was on social media. What's been expressed to me as it pertains to a Jaylen Brown deal, Denny, Avita, Klingon, who's their center, and Kamara, they're essentially their three best players, would be in those talks. Grant, Sharp, Henderson, any and all draft capital, that's the pot I believe they're working with, which makes sense if you're trading to a team that's on the decline. But the Celtics are obviously not that. And it's going to be unfortunate if it ends up that they have to act like that. To counterpoint, to kind of make the transition here, you look where the Bruins are at and what they did, and now it's not as big as trading for a guy like Jaylen Brown, but they clearly still want to compete. They're not ready to go to the bottom. They have Swayman, they have McAvoy, they have Pasternak. They still want to be a factor immediately. So what do? They trade their first-round pick and another pick for a young up-and-coming player, J.J. Peterka, a guy that scored 25 goals 3 seasons in a row. And they traded to Utah that seemingly wants to reset a little bit. Now, it's different sports, and it's not perfect, but I want to start talking about the Bruins, and that seemed like as easy a transition as any. I like that the Bruins aren't bottoming out. It would suck. Like, I do think Pasternak, McAvoy, Swayman, really Pasternak and McAvoy, but we'll throw Swayman in there. I do think that is a good core. I do think that's a group that you can win with. Not with what they've put around them thus far, certainly, but you could do worse as a starting point. I don't want them to throw that away. I kind of like that they're going to try to build around it and see what they can do. So they add Peterka over the weekend. They move on from Fabian Lysell, which is unfortunate for, is it Ivan? So nice they named him twice. But it seems to be they're trying to upgrade the roster here and now. And even some of their picks, I know people were confused. They took 2 goalies. And Jeff, maybe you can speak to this a little better than me. We were talking about this a little bit before the show. I don't think Swayman's in any danger, and they have DiPietro and all that. Say what you will about some of their development issues up front. They've developed goalies very well. They've always done that. I wouldn't hate if their new draft approach is we're just going to draft guys that we can turn into trade chips rather than whatever the hell's going on with their player development.
So my problem with the pick is how high it was. This goalie, he's young. He's going to be in Russia for the next 2 years anyway.
Yeah, I think they said that, right?
Down in Providence. But you could have got him in the third or fourth round easily. You didn't have to waste your second round.
Fair enough.
On this guy. Or kid, really. He's really a kid.
But do you think there's something to they're just going to start drafting guys they can turn into trade chips? And hey, if we and maybe they overdrafted him, but we'll draft this guy in a second and we'll develop him and maybe we'll get back the value of a second plus, right? Or
I see that angle, but I mean, how about just drafting players that you can develop and they can contribute to the actual main roster?
Because they can't.
You can win a cup that way.
Maybe they're just coming to terms with what their development pipeline is.
Yeah, they're basically just throwing in the towel.
If it's going to be multiple, and look, you have to fix that. That's not an excuse for it. But if that's going to be a multi-year thing, hey, maybe we'll go out and we'll get some guys that we think could have trade value, and that way, we can recoup the value on these picks as we rebuild our development pipe. I don't know. Maybe I'm coping with it.
No. I mean, I could absolutely see that with the goalie they got in the second round. Like I said, he's young. He's
and just taking two goalies in general.
And I think he'll be okay. I mean, his numbers aren't bad. He's playing against the highest competition in Russia as it is right now.
Yeah, he's 19, I think, and he's playing in. So that's impressive. That's impressive, and that's what I like. I want to see them start flipping some of these guys, though. I think that's what you have to do at this point. They got to fix their development pipeline. Ty Anderson had some good stuff on that on social media. If you go check that out, he has stuff for the website. I don't know if he specifically wrote that angle up yet. He did just publish 4 quick thoughts on the Bruins trading for JJ Peterka, so you can go check that out on 985thesportshub.com. But fascinating weekend for the Bruins. I think I would say this, Jeff, and you tell me if you agree with this. Between trading for Peterka, trading Lysell, the way they went about the draft, uncharacteristic for the way we've seen them operate the last few years.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think that's basically them telling us we don't have confidence in our draft. We're just going to trade and get what we need, which was a speedy forward, which I like. I like that move too, but we're going to hear it come February with his defensive play for sure.
Right. Just breaking the mold a little bit. But yeah, although I've seen people give that knock, and it's not unfair just from what I remember watching them. The whole gripe last offseason, which was fair. Remember when they signed Arvidsson and they brought back Ray with Sean Corral? It was like, and I think Sweeney said something at the time about, well, you need guys who are big bodies who can be physical and set the tone, which okay, you need a guy or two like that. That shouldn't be the whole roster. I'm sorry. They should have built up enough defensively at the forward position at this point with the way they've operated that JJ Peterka shouldn't sink them. And if he does, that's a bigger issue to the way they're playing to me than it is with JJ Peterka. But I don't know. That might be a semantics argument.
Yeah, possibly. But I mean, I get what you're saying. They need size. They need to be able to, everyone says play Bruins hockey, but, they needed some speed as well, too.
617-779-0985. You want to weigh in on the Bruins? We'll talk Bruins with Keegan Stiefel next here. After these headlines, 90 seconds, no commercials. It's Alex Barth taking you up until 5 o'clock on the Sports Hub.
From the Delaware Tiger Studios, this is Boston's home for sports. Touchdown! The flagship station of the Patriots, Bruins, the Celtics, WBCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Leslie Media Group station celebrating 65 years of broadcasting. Sports Hub headlines.
Another trade in the NBA breaking just about an hour ago, according to Shams Charania. The Charlotte Hornets are trading Miles Bridges, a 2029 first-round pick, a 2027 second-round pick to the Phoenix Suns for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and a 2033 first-round pick. The Bruins made 7 picks in the NHL draft this weekend. They traded away their first-round pick for forward JJ Peterka, then used their top selection, which was in the second round, on goalie Yuri Ivanov. They also traded away Fabian Lysell to the Colorado Avalanche for Ivan. That's his first and last name are both Ivan, something along those lines. The Red Sox go for the sweep of the Yankees tonight. Sonny Gray gets the ball against Carlos Rodon. It's a 7:20 first pitch at Fenway Park. The group stage of the World Cup begins today. It actually just kicked off. South Africa and Canada in the first minute. That is the only game in action today. The U.S. plays its round of 32 game on Wednesday night against Bosnia. And at the Travelers Championship down in Connecticut, it's close at the top. Victor Hovland at 20 under, a one-shot lead over Scotty Scheffler. They are yet to tee off. They will be on the course shortly. Everybody else is out and underway. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, 24-hour on-call service for your clog drain emergencies. Go to johnsewer.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 4 o'clock.
The Sports Hub. 3 legendary franchises on one legendary radio station. It's the Sports Hub. No matter what team, no matter what player, no matter what coach, no matter what game, it all happens here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Alex Barth, and we are joined in studio by Keegan Stiefel. You might know him from Nesson. Boston's entered the chat. Writes for a number of websites locally as well.
It's too many at this point. I think I might have to start.
No such thing as too many in this field. That's the truth of it.
That is the truth.
Before I got this job, I think I worked like 8 or 9 different part-time jobs.
Yeah.
And literally each one contributed to the Sports Hub hiring me to my current role.
Yeah. I mean, I've done I can write about the Patriots.
Yeah.
I can talk the NFL. And then somebody was like, can you do Red Sox? I said, sure, I can do Red Sox. Can you do Bruins? Sure, I can do Bruins. So we're stockpiling as many as possible until somebody wants to sweep me off my feet, and I can tell everybody to pound Sam. That's the goal.
Well, let's put that Bruins knowledge to the test here. Let's put some of those Bruins takes to the test.
Do it.
We'll pick up where I left off with Jeff there before the break. Would you call this weekend uncharacteristic for the Cam Neely, Don Sweeney Bruins?
I would do the exact opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, explain.
Because for me, it always goes back with the Bruins to fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And that's exactly how I feel. This is the 3rd straight year I've felt like they've gone in with a plan. Other things have happened around the NHL that you would have assumed that would change up kind of what the plan was. Of course, they come in, we need to add speed. We need to add scoring, a little bit of a punch on the top 6. They had the idea of doing that. Then they saw everything happen, which is, trades galore across the NHL. And when all of these trades start to go down, you're starting to see the price rise for a guy like J.J. Peterka, which it ends up being 2 first-round picks for a guy who's already paid. And this isn't so much about the player, but about the fact that the Bruins went in and they wanted to add speed. Everything that happened around the NHL probably should have led to them taking a step back and rethinking the plan. And I don't think they're capable of doing that, especially under this leadership group, because it's the 3rd straight year they've done it, where 2 years ago it was, we got to add some piss and vinegar. We need size. We need guys who can, protect our top 6 guys. They went out and got that, but they were all, 35 years old, or they couldn't put the puck in the back of the net, and that ends up being an issue at the end of the year. Now they're going to add the scoring punch, and I think they're getting smaller. I think they're giving up future assets to try to build for this thing long term. It's another year where they came in thinking we can patch this thing up and turn this into a Stanley Cup contender. They patched it up a little bit, but long term, I think they've taken away from the pieces to make this a better team long term. And in all reality, the actuality of this year, and are you good enough to win a Stanley Cup? No, they're still not good enough, and now they don't have any pieces to get good enough. I think that's the issue.
Look, they're definitely not good enough to win a cup. I'll give you that. And we know their MO. They're going to remain competitive. They don't want to bottom out. They're going to be a playoff team and maybe get bounced in the first round, but they got those playoff games in.
3 home playoff games, that's all you need.
I don't feel like they damaged their future as much, though, as maybe you're saying.
Okay.
Look, they gave up the pick this year, which I still think there's something for Like, if you're going to go to the bottom, you got to go to the bottom. You got to move on from McAvoy, from Pasternak. And if that's what you wanted, like, we can debate that. I still think it's too early to do that. Whoever you're picking at 23rd is not going to help this organization for at least 2 years, right? So if they traded those picks for a guy who was 30, I might feel different. Peterka's 24. He's going to be 24 for a good chunk of the season. He's a younger, ascending player. I know he had a down year last year in Utah, but he is a player that, in theory, should get better. Like, that's fine. And then that Florida pick, that pick's going to be in the 20s.
28?
Let's be honest. That's not a high draft pick. So if they had traded, say, their own 28 pick,
right?
Again, I'd feel. I think what you're saying, there's some nuance into, because those are all things they've done in the past. I don't think they borrowed from the future too much.
Okay.
In this,
yeah, for me. What else happened over the weekend? Obviously, they trade Fabian Lysell to Colorado, and you got rid of a young speed player who's not going to contribute defensively, but you're hoping to mask that with the other guys that you have in the lineup to add a young, skilled speed player who you need to mask defensively, but you're also paying him $7.5 million a year, and you also had to give up extra first-round capital for him. I genuinely think if they move on from Victor Arvidsson, which they're probably going to, they're not going to have enough money to pay him what market value is at this point. All you did was get younger, which is great, but you also gave up 2 first-round picks.
That's
and
fair.
You're going to be paying Peterka more than you would pay Arvidsson. He's not going to get $7 million a year. He'll probably get 6, maybe 7, but not 7.7. And
but
not
Peterka's a better player, or should be a better player.
Should be a better player. I think it's a proven fit with Arvidsson. He's a guy who can score, especially when you put him in positions to succeed.
But we saw what that was. Like, I feel like they're betting on upside, which again is scary with them. But
maybe that's where my problem is betting on upside for a team that can't develop these kind of players.
To go back to your point, fool me, and I get that one mixed up all the time too. Fool me once, shame on you.
I
Fool
feel
me
like
twice, shame on me.
It's the George Bush meme where
what J. Cole song is it?
Where
he drops it in the middle. I'm blanking on the name of the song.
Fool me can't get fooled
song.
again is the George Bush completely screwed it up trying to make a point.
And on Lysell, look, I think you just need a change of scenery.
Probably. And
he kind of became the poster child for the lack of development.
And you mentioned Ty and something he wrote earlier. I saw he kind of tweeted out after the trade. There is no better example of a guy who clearly didn't fit the model that Sweeney and Neely have, and really the personality that they want on the team. I think they saw him in a certain light, and they never wanted to give him an opportunity because they didn't think he deserved the opportunity. I don't know that to be true. This isn't an informed opinion. It's just from what I see on the outside. And if you're going to do that, you're biting off your nose to spite your face. You're not going to give this kid an opportunity because you don't like him or you don't think it's going to work out. That's not how you run a business. That's not how you run a hockey team, because all you had to do was give him a longer runway than you did. I mean, if we look at the games played, did he ever play more than 20 in a year?
I don't believe so.
So you can't tell me?
No more than 12.
Okay, so
at the NHL level.
You can't tell me that you gave him an opportunity to succeed if you didn't give him a runway at the NHL level, especially over the last couple of years where there were times where everybody fully expected you to bottom out. And yes, they've been better than that. We all talked about the gap year, right? It was going to be a gap year between the end of Bergeron and that trade deadline where they traded everybody away. They end up making the playoffs. They're better than we thought they were. But if you would have actually taken that as a gap year and said, look at all these young guys we have at the AHL level, we want to give them an opportunity. One of those guys, by the way, just won a Stanley Cup in goal, Brandon Bussey, who you had in your system, and you never gave him an extended opportunity at the NHL level. He moves on. He has great success. The goalie conversation is a different conversation entirely. But with Lysell, there's no fixing, and Don Sweeney kind of admitted to it. Like, it's probably safe to say we didn't put him in the best position to succeed.
Yeah.
Okay, why are you bringing in more players that are similar to this? I know Peterka has shown at the NHL level. I get that. I just think it's the same archetype of a player, and it's one they have not proven to be able to develop to the fullest extent of potential.
You just hope he's developed enough that...
You hope somebody else did it for you.
Right. And we've seen the Red Sox do this, that kind of concept. Trading guys who got stuck in the pipeline for others who were a little further along. We've seen the Patriots do it.
They did it at tight end.
Yeah.
After Gronkowski, they tried, failed miserably, and just went, we're going to give 2 of these guys $100 million combined and just hope it works.
And they went 1 for 2.
Yeah, and it worked out.
Although some people want the second one back. We'll get to that in a little bit. But no, Ty's been big on this too, and I think there is some similarity to the Patriots here. look, the Patriots made some bad draft picks, but there were guys in there in the last 5 to 7 years that I do think you need to play to develop. Right. And one I always go to is Juwan Williams. Was Juwan Williams ever going to be a starting caliber corner in the NFL? No. But they took him when they had Gilmore, they had Jason McCourty.
Was it Malcolm Butler?
J.C. Jackson. I think Butler was gone, but they had J.C. Jackson. He was like the fourth corner at best. He didn't play for 2 years.
No.
And so he was
healthy.
Right. He gets on the field his third year. And maybe look, they could have developed him more behind the scenes, but he was making rookie mistakes in his third year. And everybody's like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. Well, he kind of was a rookie in some ways. Ty's been big on this. Now, in football, they don't have the minor leagues. In hockey, they do.
Right.
They have not played the young kids as much in Providence as much as they should. And so it's not just about not getting opportunities in the pros. It's about, to the point that Ty tweeted about, it's not getting opportunities in Providence.
Right.
Which, and Providence has been competitive. Great. You have a competitive minor league team.
Wonderful. And what did that do? That got you, your AHL coach, a better job, and he just left, and now you got to replace him. So it's probably not even worth competing at that level because all you're going to do is lose people.
They're so worried about these kids coming up and making mistakes with the big club, which fine. You want to have a disciplined club. I get that. Let them go make the mistakes in Providence. I remember I used to get in, when me and my brother were kids, I don't know why. This was a debate we used to love to have. Is it a good thing or a bad thing if you have the best AAA team in baseball?
It depends on the age of the players that are down there.
So that's part of it. But the idea that you could look at it as wow, you have a really strong pipeline. Yeah. Or, well, if that team's so good, why isn't your pro team better? What are you missing? That kind of thing, right? So,
for me, you talk about not getting the opportunities to the AHL level. I know that's a tie point, but Patrick Brown a couple years ago, getting extended opportunities at the NHL level, being your star player down in the AHL. Why in the world is that a place that you're occupying? Why do you want to be a team that if a guy's hanging on at the end of his career, he's going to go to you and try to see if he can ride this thing out as long as possible, where you have players that you've drafted with high draft picks just sitting there. And he's just one of the examples. They had so many, and they had a lot of guys who actually ended up contributing. I know that year they won the President's Trophy. I think it was 23. They had a lot of those guys step up, and your fourth line was entirely made out of, tryout contracts that get converted into NHL contracts. That's great. We're not talking about developing a fourth liner here. We're talking about a guy you took in the first round, and he was supposed to be your next David Pastrnak, and you just shipped him off for a guy named Ivan. By the way, I know you said Ivan. His middle name's also Ivan.
Is it actually?
Yes. So
that's
it's 3
outstanding.
I might be all in on this trade just because of that.
I am him ending up of Lysell.
He might be the best.
Paterka in him. If he ends up being the dude, and I think he's only played 10 NHL games or something.
Yeah.
Him just having a guy whose name's Ivan who turns into a dude would be a lot of fun.
It would be very funny.
Oh, and it's Ivan. It's not even Ivan. It's Ivan, according to Pro Hockey Reference.
Taking a step back from that take, then Ivan would have been better. Ivan plays. Ivan's not. It's so European, Eastern European, that of course it plays. You have to
check.
Yeah, you've done well with those guys, so maybe it'll work out for you. He's a center. That's something you've been looking for 3 years at this point. So I don't know. I just think with where they're at in terms of trying to develop players, they've swung and missed so many times. Now they're having to throw extra assets at it, and that's just poor roster management, in my opinion. It might work out for them, though.
617-779-0985. You want to join us? We'll do some more Bruins. I want to get into the Red Sox as well. It is Red Sox Yankees. Something fun could happen in Fenway Park tonight. We haven't really gotten to say that much this year, but that could be the case.
It's a foreign concept.
We'll discuss that next. It's Alex Barth and Keegan Stiefel on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The
617-779-0985. You got a couple of football dorks on here, so if you want to get into the nitty-gritty with the Patriots, now's the time. 617-779-0985. But I do want to talk about the Boston Red Sox, who, so I said earlier, they could do something fun tonight at Fenway Park. That hasn't happened. That feels weird to say. It's actually 2 tiers. I didn't even realize this. So first off, they have not swept a series at home this year. They have 2 sweeps, both on the road.
That feels shocking to me. Not only in the fact that they've sucked at home, obviously, but I was pretty sure that they only won 2 series at home this year prior to like the start of June, and I thought they were both sweeps. I thought it was just like all or nothing with this team. But
no, they have only won 2. It was the Rangers a couple weeks ago. What was the other one before that?
The Royals.
No.
Or maybe that was one of the sweeps on the road.
That was one of the sweeps on the road.
Sweeps on the road was Detroit and Kansas City, I believe.
Yes.
And then the home wins were Texas.
Yeah, that might be it.
Is that it?
They split a 4-game series. Oh, it was Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, yeah, at the beginning of the year, April.
Of all teams, right. Yeah. They could sweep the New York Yankees, who are one of the, 4 or 5 legitimate teams in the American League?
I would say they're one of 2. But yeah, if you're talking about teams that are safely above 500, which the American League doesn't have many of those, yeah, they're one of those teams.
Yankees have 48 wins. Rays have 47. All the Yankees are technically behind them because they've played more games. The White Sox are 43 and 38. That's really it. The Guardians are 43 and 40. That's all your teams over 500. It's 4 teams. One of them's 3 games over. So,
what an unserious league.
It's pretty ugly. It's pretty bad. But the Red Sox could sweep the Yankees. Call me a fanboy if you want. It's fine. Look, I'd rather the Red Sox be good. Obviously, I'd rather the series mean something. A good Red Sox-Yankees series, there's a buzz to that.
Yeah.
There's a real buzz in the city to that. That is one of the best things about Boston sports. But if we can't get that, there is something uniquely sneaky fun about just a bad, bad, piss poor, non-competitive Red Sox team. Coach, GM, firings, buzz, all that, beating a competitive Yankees team.
Yeah. The only thing that pulls me out of it a little bit is the fact that Aaron Judge isn't playing. It's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I'll take it.
You're not able to beat that guy because for a long time, to me, he was the biggest loser on the planet, and I still think he is a gigantic loser. He's never won anything of significance. He's been a poor postseason player, especially the deeper you get into the postseason. He's got terrible ALCS slash line. He had a bad World Series, all that. Him not being in the lineup and seeing, Ali Sanchez, who was behind the dish for you 4 games last year, and he was playing on Friday. It takes a little bit away from it, but like you said, this team is so bad, and I checked out a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
I was on Nesson telling everybody, I know you're still going to watch because we all do it. People who say they're not going to watch are lying to themselves. They're going to watch the team. But I was like, you need to put up a wall of emotion. Don't allow them to get a reaction out of you. They don't deserve it because they're not good enough to get a reaction. So I'm firm on that stance.
I am watching purely at this point for, to be informed talking about the deadline.
Right.
Like Sonny Gray's pitching tonight. Tonight's kind of an important game in that the deadline's a little over a month away. It's August 3rd for some reason, which also I hate. I get
July 31st.
I get why they do August 1st because they don't want to fall on a Sunday. Fine. That's the one exception. August 3rd? No. We're well past deadline at this point. But Sonny Gray's got, 4 or 5 more starts between now and then?
Probably, yeah.
So, this is, again, I know they're a little banged up, but still not a bad lineup. Like a good chance to get that value up here.
We already saw in the series how important it was for a guy like Aroldis Chapman to look like himself.
Yeah.
Last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say, up to 101 consistently, throwing gas. The hamstring looked fine. Looked like an athlete again out there. It had been a while. It had been like a month, and it was like, this guy looks his age. And he
didn't look right.
He never looked his age in his entire career. He looked 30 years old every single year of his career, from 22 to 38. And for a week, it wasn't looking great. But he was back to looking like himself. I mean, Wilson Contreras has been a monster the entire year. It's the best first baseman year you've had going back to prime Mitch Moreland, and we're talking 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say Hanley, Mitch Moreland.
In the Hanley year, he was so bad defensively, it was taking away from how good he was offensively. Wilson Contreras is just a good everyday first baseman.
I did that, and the breakdown of him Friday night standing over the plate to try to
I
get team
love
fired up. Just awesome stuff.
I was there on Friday.
Yeah, continue.
And I was able to see it's one thing to see it on TV, and let me shill. Nesson does a great job, I think, especially with Red Sox Yankees, the dugout. Like you get more dugout in a Red Sox Yankee series than any series across Major League Baseball, especially on Nesson, because they're looking for that emotion. He is doing everything he can to give that team a spark, and that includes standing on top of the base, kind of almost getting hit, but not really. It was just a ball that was up and in, losing his mind. It starts the dugout's clear, the bullpen's clear. Then later on, he check swings. First base ump says you went. He lost his mind, freaked out. 2 pitches later, hits a 430-foot home run over the monster, and then MFs the ump as he's rounding first. He's the only guy that has shown any emotion. And
the only guy that cares.
After that, you saw on Saturday Anthony Siegler, a guy who he probably shouldn't be here, but he hit his first big league home run, and he had the same. We all remember Mookie Betts rounding first after It's Time to Party, just almost fell down. He was so jazzed. You're starting to see a little bit of that. That is, to me, what you see out of a Red Sox-Yankees series. Whether one of the teams sucks, whether both teams suck, it doesn't really matter because you get them out onto the field, and if you're able to cultivate emotion the way a guy like Wilson Contreras did on Friday, it has turned it into something that I said earlier, put up a wall, don't allow them to make you emotional. Now they're making me, and it's not emotional like I'm pissed or I'm sad that this team's terrible. It's, oh my God, I want them to sweep this team so bad.
Yeah.
Because it'll give me just one fleeting, hey, remember 2026, it sucked, but remember when they swept the Yankees in June? That was awesome.
Especially if the Yankees end up losing the division by a couple of games, and this was the difference. And
I'm a biggest Tampa Bay Rays fan for the rest of it.
Going back to Contreras real quick, and I agree with everything you said, but he is on the older side.
Yeah.
Would you trade him?
Yeah, I was early on the trade everybody. Because I genuinely think if you don't trade Aroldis Chapman and Sonny Gray, just those two in particular.
Those two and Duran have to go. Those are my 3 must trades.
You're doing yourself a disservice. The Duran thing, you should have traded him 2 years ago. I would DFA him because I think he is a mental case, and him being I could do 40 minutes on Jarren Duran, but him being in your clubhouse on a daily basis, you saw it yesterday again, and I feel like it got swept under the rug because it wasn't a full-on, he said something inflammatory or he fist fought a fan, but it was another instance where a fan, I believe it was a Yankees fan, said something to him yesterday going down the dugout, and you had Chad Tracy and Wilson Contreras ripping him down into the dugout because he couldn't help himself. That is not a player, especially a guy that you've touted as a leader for the last couple of years. It's not a guy you need in this clubhouse with all these young players and with guys who are dealing with so much off the field. The injuries to your younger players, like Marcelo Meyer just went on the IL. Obviously, Roman Anthony's been out for a long time. That is not the guy that they need to look at and say, well, it's all right. If I get a little emotional, let me lose my whatever in the dugout. So I'm all in on trading him, but I think it's for more non-baseball reasons than baseball reasons. But I think if you don't trade those guys, it's those 3, but it's really Gray and Chapman with their age and their contract situation. You're doing the team a disservice, and that goes back to the Craig Breslow conversation of you either need to fire him today or you need to extend him today. You can't play the middle.
So I want to get into that because as much as we're enjoying them beating the Yankees, is this opening the door for some of what Craig Breslow has been talking about that many people have bemoaned? Are we getting a little Craig Breslow bump, a little Craig Breslow magic? We talked about how much the American League sucks.
It's terrible.
Is Craig Breslow getting exactly what he wanted? We'll talk about that on the other side. Plus your calls, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth, Keegan Stiefel on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Back here on 98.5 The Sports. I'm Alex Barth. We've got Keegan Stiefel joining us till the top of the hour. I'll be here till 5 if you want to join us, 617-779-0985. We were talking before the break about the Red Sox actually have some pieces they can sell. They're beating the Yankees. This is fun. Guys are getting their trade value up. In theory, sets them up well for the deadline. In theory. To be sellers. But, and we talked about this earlier, here's the American League playoff picture right now. Tampa Bay Rays, number 1 seed, 47-33. They lead the division. They are, I think, like technically a game ahead of the Yankees. They have one fewer win and one fewer loss. So the Yankees, they have a couple games in hand. Chicago White Sox. How about the Chicago White Sox? Putting it together a little bit. 43-38. They lead that division.
Signed a guy you probably should have signed in Munitaka Americano.
Yeah, he's fun, isn't he?
Might be the rookie of the year. He's awesome. And
then you have the Mariners leading their division. They are at 500. You have the Yankees as the top wild card team at 48-34.
Gross.
You have the Guardians at 43-40. They're the second wild card team. They're a couple games behind the White Sox. That's it for teams over 500. If the playoffs started today, we'd all be wondering why they're playing the playoffs at the end of June. Mm-hmm. But if playoffs started today, the Texas Rangers would be the third wild card team at 41-42. Real quick, Keegan, because I want to get to more of the Red Sox, but just thoughts on the extra wild card in baseball.
I think it's done not irreversible damage, because I think they can go back and it would fix things. It's done so much damage to the way teams build, and I think it plays more into the... Well, only 5 teams really spend money and no one else does, because teams now know we don't have to spend money.
You can back right in.
Back into the playoffs.
Now, what I would be for, so I feel very strongly about this. The greatest playoff format ever assembled was the one that we saw in the NFL for most of our lives.
Yep.
4 divisions, division winners,
2 wild cards.
2 wild cards, 2 byes. And a wild card, a divisional, a championship, or a conference league championship. That way, winning your division matters. So you don't get, because under the old format with only 1 wild card, it didn't really matter if you won your division or not for the most part. Like when the Red Sox and Yankees were both chasing 100 wins, they're both getting in the playoffs. It's kind of semantics at that point. Yeah, there's home field advantage. So if baseball expands, they should keep the 6 teams, but go to the 4 division winners.
Yeah.
And the NFL, the 7th playoff team in the NFL is ridiculous. And has hurt the league, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing teams at the end of the year not care about seeding because they know they're going to go. I mean, the Rams last year, they wanted to win that division game because they wanted to win their division, but they end up losing and they go to Carolina, and it was a closer game than we all expected, but it made it almost like the week 17, week 18 felt useless for the majority.
Well, and because in the past where you might have teams competing for one spot, now they're both in. Just wait till, I'm telling you, when they go to 18 games, they're going to get rid of the bye and go to 8 playoff teams. And December football and post-Christmas regular season football is going to be brutal because everything will be locked up. It's going to feel like April in the NBA. That's a side point. The Rangers, though, because of this ridiculous third wild card spot, are 41-42. The Red Sox at 11 games under 500, now with 3 wins in a row, are 5 games out of a playoff spot. In theory, Keegan, and let's say they play about 500 ball for the next month. I think they have a relatively easy. Yeah, they have a relatively easy schedule.
This was the last of the gauntlet.
So they go at least to the All-Star break versus Washington, at the Angels, at the White Sox, at the Mets, who have become a complete and total dumpster fire once again. And then just to take it to the deadline, they do play the Rays at home, and then it's Baltimore, Toronto, wherever the A's are from now, and then they have a series against the Dodgers the weekend of the trade deadline. So that's pretty easy.
So 2 series against legitimate World Series contenders, and the rest of those series you should be able to win.
Right. So let's say now there's a lot of series they should be able to win that they don't. Let's say they play 500 ball between now and then. So they're 5 games out of the playoffs at the deadline. Traditionally, 5 games out of playoff at the deadline is a buyer. That's usually like if you're 5 games out, you're in the mix. And maybe you're not going over the top, but that's certainly not a seller. 5 games out is still competing. If the Red Sox keep winning, does it get a little... Craig Breslow has said time and time and time again, we still got a lot of baseball left. We haven't made our decision. We're going to see what happens. I think he said it as recently as this week. Mm-hmm. First it was, we've got 6 weeks to go, then we'll decide. We've got 5 weeks to go, then we'll decide. He's going to run this thing down, it feels like, because he's trying to save his job. I don't blame him. Are you worried at all if the Red Sox don't become sellers, or maybe even become expires.
Absolutely terrified. I think it's the worst thing you could do for the long-term health of the organization, especially because, say what we will about the playoff format, it sucks. Teams get in that shouldn't even be sniffing the playoffs, whatever,
right.
All that. It's terrible.
By the way, for comparison, the top wild card team in the National League is 43-38. The Rangers would be 5 games out of a playoff spot if they're in the National League.
So that's an American League issue, whatever.
Yeah.
I think there is a perfect opportunity, and they love to spin it. These Boston Red Sox and that ownership group, there's nothing they love more.
Addicted to positive spin.
Spinning everything. I think there's
Roman
an
Anthony will be back
them.
any day now.
Right. There's an opportunity for them, and that's exactly my point. Where if you get in and you're 5 games back of a playoff spot at the deadline, well, Garrett Crochet's coming back. Roman Anthony's coming back.
We're gonna, it's an old Red Sox
we have,
classic. Those are your trade deadline acquisitions.
Those are your. That's exactly right.
Those are your
and
additions.
Guess what? We don't have enough spots for these guys. So what do we have to do? Bye-bye, Sonny Gray. We got to trade. We don't have spot. Jake Bennett, all of a sudden, he's pitching like an all-star. He's unreal. He's going to stay in the rotation. If
that's how it works, though, isn't that a win-win?
Yeah, that's what I need. I need the Red Sox. I've bemoaned it for years. Stop trying to pee on me and tell me it's raining. I don't like it. You keep trying to do it, please. But now, go right ahead. If you want to pretend like guys who have missed the entire year are going to come back and become positive, quote unquote, trade deadline acquisitions, and they're going to make a difference for you, you can go ahead and try to spin that. But because to me, what I know is going to happen is those guys are going to be added. It's going to take them a while to get up to speed. It's not going to matter because you're already too far out of it. So if you can do that and then on the back end actually trade some of these guys. Justin Slayton, he looks like the real deal. Maybe he's our closer now that we trade Aroldis Chapman. Sonny Gray, we've got 6 pitchers. We can afford to get rid of one. He's the most obvious trade deadline candidate. We got rid of him. That is a perfect world to me. What they're going to end up doing is saying, we have these guys coming back. We're going to keep adding to the pitching staff. Yeah. We're going to keep winning games off of our pitching. Roman Anthony's going to make the difference in the lineup, and it's not going to happen. They're not going to trade people. They're not going to add anybody either. It's just they're going to float on down, and they're going to die on the vine as a 75-win baseball team.
And that's the fear. Look, I think if they brought these guys back and then traded Sonny Gray and still said we're going for it, that's great. I don't know if I'm willing to give them that much credit, because what they'll do is, Crochet will come back. Well, now Jake Bennett or Peyton Toley's going to the bullpen. Oh, because they love doing it. They love doing that.
If they put Peyton Toley in the bullpen, I no one should be going to Fenway Park.
They tried,
ever. And they were right to try last year because the wheels fell off pretty quickly with Peyton Toley. He's going to be your all-star. I'm sorry, it's just going to happen. Aroldis Chapman hasn't pitched enough. There's too many first basemen in the American League. That guy's going to be your all-star. You try to put him in the bullpen, Fenway might not live.
I would hope so. The crazy thing about it, though, you bring up the injuries, and this is where I worry about them tripping into this fool's gold. Just subjectively, you can define this however you want. Have they missed Garrett Crochet?
No.
Have they missed Roman Anthony?
Yes.
How was Roman Anthony playing before he got hurt? They're really missing. What they could really use another outfielder that's hitting 220 with no pop.
Did you expect him to continue on that pace?
No. Okay, so to be fair, no. I thought he'd upswing, but if you told me before the year the Red Sox are going to be 10 games under 500 at the start of July, but Crochet and Anthony are hurt, I'd be like, well, yeah, they lost their 2 best players. I don't see those injuries as being the reasons the Red Sox are in the position they're in.
It's definitely not with Crochet because the rotation is bad. I would argue it's the best rotation in baseball.
Yeah, and he also wasn't pitching well.
And he wasn't pitching well. He had the worst start of his career, one of the worst starts of all time, not just his career, but a terrible start in Minnesota. He had a few kind of stinkers, and we didn't see any last year, so it was a little bit surprising. So I'm with you there. The fact that Jarren Duran is playing every day, and he is statistically one of the 5 worst hitters in baseball right now, you can't convince me, for as bad as Roman Anthony looked the first month of the year, he would not be 10 times the player that Jarren Duran has been. And let's not forget, butchering that ball in the outfield to get walked off in Colorado. This is the same guy. So it's not just that he's not hitting. Defensively, he puts you in a bad spot because if he's not in center, he's hurting you. and you can't take the best center fielder in baseball out of center. So guess what? You've got a below-average left fielder out there literally kicking the ball away, kicking games away in a race to try to get one of those wild card spots. So it absolutely has hurt them that Roman Anthony's not there, just for the fact that Jarren Duran is the one that's
he wasn't
replaced
great in the field either.
I think he can pick up a roller in the corner and get it to the cutoff man.
But I don't. They're 10 games under 500, right? I don't think Crochet and Anthony alone coming back suddenly they're playing above 500 ball.
I don't either, but I do think we've kind of ignored the fact that it's not just those two injuries. It's Romy Gonzalez took longer to get back than we thought he would. Trevor Story, obviously, back.
Yeah, I don't think they're missing Trevor Story.
I don't think they are either, but Marcelo Meyer, the guy that replaced him, is now on the IL.
That's true.
So you've got Sung Chae Chang playing shortstop against the Yankees.
IKF down, too. They're down 3 shortstops.
I forgot IKF was a human being for a minute.
He was playing well before he got hurt. He was somebody
really well.
Another guy that they should move at the deadline.
Another guy. Yeah, because guess what? This is exactly what happened last year. Somebody signed him on a 1-year deal thinking he'll be a 4A depth piece. If we need him in June when someone gets hurt, great. He ends up being a starter on a World Series team. It's just what IKF does. Maybe that'll happen this year as well. But the Mickey Gaspers of the world and the Masataka Yoshida being your leadoff hitter, that stuff, that is the real issue here. It's not just the fact that you're without Roman Anthony and it's pushing these guys into those places. It's that you're without Story and Meyer and IKF. So you're playing with 4 to 5 guys a night who should be in Worcester. That's the problem. Yeah. If you've got 2 of them, you can work with that. If Anthony Siegler comes up and he's playing second base, you can live with it. Every team that's ever won a World Series has had that stretch in the year. It's a long season.
Right.
It's that it's 5 of them and not 2 of them. So that is a problem. I think if you do slide Roman Anthony back in that lineup, you could have treaded water a little bit better than you did. This stretch here, him being out for essentially mid-June or mid-May to mid-June, that was when you were going to need to win baseball games, because I think you could play at a 520 pace. Say you win more series than you lose.
Yeah.
Split your 4 gamers. And I would be confident about that team moving forward. It's that they're losing every single series, or after this, now we're talking about, well, look at all these series they've got coming up. Maybe they can start to win some.
Well, this is what they did last year, and they won 10 in a row going into
if they win 10 in a row, I'll fully admit that I was dead wrong. I just can't see it happening because all of the things that were going to be bugaboos for them that we saw coming into the year, having too many outfielders, having too many starting pitchers, trading away the depth pieces and not like real guys, not spending money on real guys, I think has been a sneaky issue for him. The Hunter Dobbins, Richard Fitz, I know some of those guys are injured. They would have been nice to have as bullpen pieces when your bullpen fell apart a month ago. And it's that stuff that has become a real issue for him. You didn't see it at the beginning, and your May and your June is going to be the thing that actually killed your season, not July, August.
Well, and that's the thing. They kind of compensated for it last year. Literally a year ago today, they were 41 and 44. They were 3 games under 500. They went on to win 12 of 13, including that 10 in a row going into the All-Star break. They go into the All-Star break at 53 and 45. 3 games out in the division, well into a wild card. And then coming out of the deadline, they won 7 in a row. And so that's, 17 games right there where while they got in the playoffs, they were not a good team outside of those 17 games. They were, but those stretches can do it for you. And if this is one of those stretches, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let's, what I just say, 17 games, right?
Yeah.
No, that's not 17 games over 500. They finished with 17 more wins than losses.
Right.
Don't do math live on the air. Piece of advice for you. Steve in Miami, grab this quick call before you hit the break. Steve, what's up?
How you guys?
Hey.
Duran was definitely a dynamic player. We all loved him and all that, but you pick out one game. He has actually lost them 2 games. If you remember when the Scottish people went to the game and they lost in the 9th inning, I think it was. Here he has been playing the left field wall, and he goes all the way to the wall if they're playing for the bounce off the wall, and that's what helped score the winning run. So he's not dynamic anymore. I still like him, but not with the Red Sox. And they're going to have to, almost like a minor leaguer, they're going to have to include him in a trade for a team that wants Sonny Gray or something like that. I mean, his value, as we all know, is down to almost nothing. And he's now basically a throw-in. And once again, Craig Breslow kept the player too long or got rid of it too quickly. I mean, I still talk about the trade for Dustin May. The Dodgers were ready just to get him off their team, and we give up James Tibbs, one of the top people that we got for Devers. I don't know whose brainchild that was, but that was, I think, more a thing where Craig Breslow was worried about his job even then and wanted to do something just to get to show that he did something. And
panic moves.
That's when you lose a trade. Is when you just do it for the sake of doing it.
That's right, Steve. Thanks for the call. Would you pay somebody to take Sharon Duran off the team?
No, because AJ Preller probably still has
San Diego.
I can't say that on the air, but San Diego has.
San Diego thinks Sharon Duran is quite the ball player.
For years, they have talked about him. If the Red Sox saw Sharon Duran as an MVP candidate and everybody laughed him out of the building, the Padres quietly in the corner thought, yeah, you guys might not be wrong. He's a pretty good player.
Might be next Ken Griffey Jr.
AJ Preller loves him. He always has. Even in talking about, you hear all the time, you ask a general manager about a player on another team. Well, I'm not going to talk about players on the other team. AJ Preller will talk about Sharon Duran as the day is long. He loves the guy. And I think there are probably other people around baseball who see what I see, where we're just at a point where we're a little too far gone with Sharon Duran. In this environment, with this organization, with how they overvalued him, and now you're starting to see it turn the other way, and they haven't supported him the way he needs to be supported, and maybe there's a little bit too much there. Maybe no team could have done enough for him in that scenario. But there's got to be teams out there who see it just like the girl you knew in high school who she can fix him. You know, he's a little rough around the edges, but I can fix him. There's a GM out there who thinks he can fix Sharon Duran and turn him into an all-star player again. You can have him for essentially free, but he's not a David Price. He's not at a point where all of his best years are behind him and you're paying him a lot of money. This is a guy who's still under team control. You haven't paid him yet. This year, after the year he's had the arbitration, he'll make $3-4 million based off what he did in the past, not what he did this last year. Teams are going to want a guy like that. So I'm not throwing him into another deal, and I'm not taking nothing for him, but I'll take pretty damn close because I think him just being around makes you a worse organization.
617-779-0985. You want to weigh in on it, but Keegan's here. We're a couple of football dorks, so I want to do a little Patriots talk with you. We'll do that before you get out of here. Keegan's out at 4. I'll be here till 5, though. You want to join the conversation again, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Stop chasing parts. New Power is a
Only because we're talking Patriots for the next few minutes. That's the only reason I came in.
Yeah, I'll get a Patriots thought in here because I'm going to do this at the top of the hour if you want to weigh in on it. 617-779-0985. Mike Reese in his Sunday Notes this morning talking about Christian Gonzalez and his contract and where it lies out on, I believe it's Gonzalez's birthday.
Today is,
Today,
yeah.
so.
He's like 24. It's insane.
What a nice present it would be if the Patriots paid him. Reese kind of lays out the timeline and what needs to happen and, getting him on the field for practice. Where are you at with Gonzalez, the extension? Do they get it done? When do they need to get it done by? How do you feel about all that?
Yeah, it's going to happen. I hope that they don't let this stretch into training camp. We talked about it on Boston Center, the chat, just kind of where they're at with Gonzalez, where they're at with May. They can't pay May, but getting that done as soon as possible, I think, is an important thing. And the question of whether or not he's going to get be the highest paid player in the history of football, he will. He's going to. Probably at the first moment they can do it. With Gonzalez, I
talking about May.
I'm talking about May.
Yeah.
With Gonzalez, I think it's interesting because we're talking about a player who's clearly deserves the contract. And, Mike Vrabel all but said, we value him that way, and we're going to pay him that way. The presence of Devin Witherspoon and him having not signed his extension yet, and
same agent.
They have the same agent.
Who is also, I believe, Gabe Akis' agent.
He's had an interesting offseason, that agent.
Right.
I'm going to have to get his name because that guy, not that he's not doing his clients any favors, I think he's just taking way too much time with all of these things. But from what I've come to understand about just the way these things happen and looking back at past years, the guy who gets drafted first gets paid first. And you might think, well, that's weird because if you get drafted higher, if you get paid second, you're probably getting paid more. There's been between agents, and we've seen it in past years where because the guy got drafted first, his contract, he made more money on the first contract. So that means he has to sign his extension first. So the guy after him makes a little bit more on the back end. It kind of evens things out. Agents have operated that way the last couple of years. We saw it with Sauce Gardner, J.C. Horn, Derek Stingley, Pat Surtain. All those guys have signed extensions, and they did it in that order. So the first guy to get drafted is the first guy to get paid. So that, to me, signals that Christian Gonzalez isn't going to sign anything until Devin Witherspoon signs something. So you're kind of just waiting to see what Seattle does.
If I'm the Patriots, though, I'd jump it because you end up paying him less. And it's incentive for Gonzalez to wait, but I don't want it. The deadline for me is the first padded practice. Even if he misses the first 2 or 3 days of training camp, which we all know what those are, right? He doesn't need that. No. But we saw him without a summer last year, and it took him a little bit to get going into the season.
Yeah, the hamstring issue. And I know people have seen or thought it lasted a lot, maybe a little bit longer than it needed to with that. I don't think, from the Patriots' perspective, I don't think you want to give him any incentive to stretch this thing out. So I'm with you on jumping the gun. I just wonder if he's a little more comfortable with, I'll hang out.
Right, he'd rather wait.
I'll hang out, I'll make more money, and I'll have to do less of the BS on the front end of the season. I'm sure he loves that idea. The Patriots are maybe a little bit too nonchalant about the whole thing, and they're waiting it out. I genuinely, I think the Gabe Akis issue is more worrisome to me.
I actually agree with you on that.
Than the Christian Gonzalez one.
And some of that is just where they're at on the edge versus where they're at corner.
Right. You've got a veteran, very good, not a lockdown, but a very good guy who can mirror number one in Carlton Davis. Yeah. You've got Marcus Jones. You've got okay depth there. I think you've got a lot of guys who haven't been given an opportunity to show what they can do. But if they are, Marcellus Dial, Karan Prunty, guys like that, maybe they can be a decent outside guy. On the edge, we're talking about a guy who was essentially their first-round pick because Caleb Lomu if everything goes right, won't play a whole ton this season.
Right.
They're hoping he doesn't have to. Gabe Akis was the second-round pick who was addressing their biggest, immediate need.
Yeah, second-round pick they traded up for.
They traded up for him. I think maybe they looked past higher ceiling options because they loved the floor of the play. They loved just the makeup of this guy, and they thought he fit what they did so well. And since the day of the draft, there's been no positive developments with Gabe Akis. It's been, okay, he had surgery, so he's not going to be there for OTAs. He missed those. He was in the building, but he wasn't at practice a few times, I believe.
The only time we've seen him, rookie minicamp, he was out there just kind of hanging out.
And we've seen him in kind of the background of some of those team bonding videos that they've posted. but he wasn't on the field during the entire team being there, organized team activities, which is an issue. People have used second-round picks are all getting fully guaranteed contracts now. He hasn't gotten his, and other guys have waited. Travion Henderson didn't sign until July last year. Travion Henderson was there. He was at practice.
Also, every other second-round pick at this point is signed, I believe, right?
Every single other one is signed. I believe this is the first year if Aukus gets fully guaranteed money. It's, if not every single second-round pick got a fully guaranteed contract, like 28 of the it's the highest number of all time.
It's moving. It's slowly moving its way down the draft.
So especially with a high value position like edge, quarterbacks. It started with quarterbacks. If you're a second round quarterback, you got a fully guaranteed deal. Then it went to the offensive linemen, then the edge guys. He has every right to want that fully guaranteed contract. If the Patriots are so worried about this injury that he had that required surgery that they don't feel comfortable giving him a fully guaranteed deal, that's a problem. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe they're dragging their feet just like they are on the Christian Gonzalez thing. But if that is the reason they haven't signed him to a deal, that is a major issue going into training.
Yeah. Oh, and look, the reality is, whether it's Gonzalez, whether it's Aukus, there is no rush right now.
Right.
They're not going to be on the field together for another 4 weeks. We are getting to that point where I think once you get past the 4th, because everybody's away, holidays, whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's like, all right, we got to get these done because we got to make sure these guys are on the field when we get started. So I think we're getting near there being a little more urgency in that regard. Keegan, man, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. You can check him out on social media. It's just your name, right? At Keegan Stiefel. Check him out there. Check him out on Boston. Enter the chat. And hopefully around here a little bit more in the future. So
hopefully.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, man. What's left of it. We got one more hour to go. Quick check of the headlines, and we're back. Your call, 617-779-0985. No commercials, just the headlines here. It's Alex Barth on the Sports Hub.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, Dutcher and Hardy, Owen Beetle, Felger and Mass, the Bruins, the Celtics, the Pats, the Revolution. This is Boston's home for sports. WBC FM at HD Boston, 98.5 The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
The Red Sox go for the sweep of the New York Yankees tonight. Sonny Gray gets the ball against Carlos Rodon. It's set for a 7:21 pitch at Fenway Park. The Red Sox, according to Chris Cotillo, making a roster move before this game. Mickey Gasper has been optioned to clear room on the roster for Romy Gonzalez. A trade in the NBA this afternoon. The Charlotte Hornets sending Miles Bridges, a 2029 first-round pick, and a 2027 second-round pick to the Phoenix Suns for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and a 2033 first-round pick, according to Shams Charania. The Bruins made several picks in the NHL draft over the weekend. That was after they traded away their first-round pick for forward J.J. Peterka. The team also trading away Fabian Lysell. They sent him to the Colorado Avalanche in a player-for-player swap for forward Ivan. So nice, they named him twice. The round of 32 is underway at the World Cup. One game today between South Africa and Canada. They are scoreless at the half. And at the Travelers Championship, final day of play, Scotty Scheffler has jumped into the lead. He is one stroke ahead of Victor Hovland. Scheffler sits at 20 under. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, 24-hour on-call service for your clogged drain emergencies. Go to johnsewer.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub, and those are your Sports Hub headlines.
Boston Talk Sports.
Break me. We all know what, but we won't say what. Yeah, worst take on these airwaves in the last 24 hours.
We may not take a call today.
The Sports Hub. The Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots, the Sox, the Revs, and you. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub, we got Jeff Williams behind the glass. We've done some Celtic. We've done a little bit of everything. Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox, Patriots. And we'll go to your calls here this last hour. You want to call in, we'll let you dictate the show. If you're calling, 617-779-0985. I'll start with Pete in Pembroke. Pete, what's up?
Hey, Barth, how are you?
Hey.
Quick question for you regarding the Patriots rookies this year, right? So obviously we know that Lomu's not going to slot right into a starting role, and there's a lot of uncertainty behind, Gabe Yakus here.
Yep.
I'm curious who you think is going to have, the biggest impact this year as a true rookie. Guy I got my eye on is Jam Miller. I'm curious what you think about him. Obviously, he fell down in the Bama depth chart, but he was good at a time there. I'll hang up and listen to what you say.
Thanks for the call, Pete. It's a good question. Which Patriots rookie will have the biggest impact this year? I mean, it should be Akis. I don't think they have enough on the edge right now. Like, if it all was normal with him, like any other draft pick, it would be him unquestionably. Because I'm still worried about Harold Landry and his health. I think Draymond Jones is a fine player, but he's a complimentary player, and he's not a high-volume sack guy. It would be Akis. Without Akis, I mean, look, I guess the easy dorky answer would be I think Karan Prunty is going to play a very important role for them on special teams. I think you take a guy that high ahead of where he's projected to go and you look at his athletic makeup and his background, probably a guy that's going to play a lot of special teams. And I think has the makeup to be a good special teams player. It's not going to wow anybody, but I think he can do that. So, like, who might you hear from the most outside of them? It's him. I don't want to sleep on Eli Raridan. I came in to the spring ready to believe that Eli Raridan could be their second tight end, could even push Julian Hill, and then obviously Julian Hill gets hurt, gets placed on IR after the A.J. Brown trade. He's out for the year. But we didn't see a lot of Raridan this spring, and he seemed to be behind Tanner Arkin, who's a UDFA, and C.J. Dupree, who they signed as a UDFA last year. Now, that doesn't mean he's a worse player. Those guys just profile more similar to Hill, who they lost as blockers. Raridan, as far as rookies go, you know, he's a fine rookie blocking tight end. That's a far cry from what you were going to get out of Julian Hill. And Arkin's a rookie too, but he's a blocking specialist. He's not a guy you're going to send out in the pattern. I'd like to think, we know Josh McDaniels wants to run 12 personnel. They couldn't do it as much last year. I'd like to think Raridan gives them that chance, that opportunity. That's the hope. He's going to need to make a push in camp, though, because we did not see as much of him this summer as I hoped. As for Jam Miller, look, I liked that pick. I thought he'd go a little higher than that. He does a little bit of everything, right? I don't know that he's great at any one thing, but you can trust him to run the ball between the tackles. He's got a little bit of juice to get outside the tackles. Doesn't really have breakaway speed, not a big play threat, but a guy that you trust to find the hole and take what's given. Can block a little bit, can catch the football a little bit. Another good special teams player. He maybe competes for the kick returner role, which is going to be a battle to watch in camp. With him, though, so for everything I just said about Jam Miller, I kind of feel the same about Land Larison. I kind of feel the same about Miles Montgomery. And Terrell Jennings is a different stylistic player, but it's comparable. Whoever the third running back is going to play. Josh McDaniels always very cognizant of not overworking his running backs and making sure that you're not overloading somebody and he's fine with the rotation. Especially you get late in a game in a blowout, let somebody else take that beating, right? So whoever that third running back is, between special teams, between helping manage the depth, I think is going to play a decent amount. Call it like 10 to 15 snaps a game on offense, and then obviously have a significant special teams role. And that's Jam Miller. I mean, that's not a bad role for a 7th-round pick. It's not. I'm not convinced. I don't know that he's a lock to make the team. I don't think he's going to miss. I think him, Land Larison, Terrell Jennings, Miles Montgomery, that's a pretty good roster battle. Those guys are all relatively even. You know, there might be little things that each one does a little bit better or worse than the others, but I think they're all about on par. So if Jam Miller wins that, yeah, he could have a chance, because this was a pipeline draft for the Patriots, admittedly. They don't have a lot of guys that projected impact right away. Lomu, you hope you don't see a ton of, because you wanted to say Campbell and Moses, and then he takes over for Moses. You know, if he plays as a rookie, it's that tight end eligible 6 offensive lineman set. He has the athleticism for it. It makes sense for him to do that. Akis, we talked about, again, should be an immediate impact guy. We need to know how healthy he is. I'd like to see Raridan get there. I think he has the tools to get there. Not super encouraging this spring. Prunty's mainly going to be a special teams player. Demetrius Crownover is a depth tackle, and he kind of looked behind Marcus Bryant in the spring as that 4th tackle. Bryant was their 7th-round pick last year. That's a battle. Really did not see any, and now we're into the 6th round. We're outside of the top 200. Did not see any of Nnamdi Obiizor in the spring. Very little of him. Baron Morton is the 3rd-string quarterback. You'd better not see him. He'll make the team. You'd better not see Baron Morton. Things have gone horribly. We're seeing Baron Morton. It's just the reality of being a 3rd-string quarterback. I mentioned Jim Miller, and then Q Hutchins, 7th-round pick, edge rusher. Again, primarily a special teams player and a guy that also had a legal concern earlier this offseason. I believe he got charged with assault. So that's going to have to play out. You're going to see what happens there. But not a lot of instant impact players. Now, last year, Craig Woodson didn't look like an instant impact player. Granted, they still had Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers on the roster. And if I knew it this time last year, they were moving on from those guys, I probably would have said more about Woodson. But Woodson did not look like an immediate impact player. Kyle Williams did and didn't do a ton. So who knows? Maybe this coaching staff is just a little more finger on the pulse, and you want the sleeper for it. It's Nnamdi Obi-Izor. He figures it out, has a good camp. They don't have a ton of depth at linebacker. Maybe he ends up carving out a role kind of similar to Christian Ellis. That would be sort of what you're looking for him. I think what would be the goal for that kind of player, for where you took him and for what his skill set is. But I don't think this rookie class in the short term is going to make the impact that last year's did. Now, you want to project out, Caleb Lomu should be your starting right tackle for a long time, or that pick is a failure. Gabe Akis should be a double-digit sack guy for you at some point during his rookie contract. Eli Raridon, I know he went at the back end of the third round. The way the tight end position works, you take a tight end in the top 100, that guy should be competing for a starting job at some point during his rookie contract. That's not as a rookie, but at some point during his rookie contract. I would like to see Jam Miller eventually get more into the running back rotation. Maybe it doesn't happen this year, but I'd like to see that. And I'd like to see Demetrius Crownover end up being like a third tackle, I think, for where you took him, for what his skill set is again. So there's more opportunities for these guys to contribute more down the road. And now they were picking 31st, and I know they took Lomu 28th, they traded up, but they're picking 31st in each round, not 4th. So you're talking about a very different class. It's not like they blew this draft. I think they had a fine draft. I think I gave them like a B- C+ when I did my end of draft grades a couple months ago. But I think that the impact from this draft is more long-term than what they had last year, when everybody was obviously very excited. It was the first time you had multiple rookies contributing at that level at once here. That was fun to see. I don't think it's going to be 24, which outside of Drake May, Jalen Poole, Caden Wallace, Layden Robinson, Javon Baker, Marcellus Dial, Joe Milton, Gene Bell, there's really nothing there. I don't think there's going to be a class like that, or like you go back to, what's the more infamous one? 22, Cole Strange, Tyquan Thornton, or 19, N'Keal Harry, Jawan Williams? Maybe the comp is the 23 draft, which was Christian Gonzalez, Keon White, Marte Mapu, Jake Andrews, Chad Ryland, City So, Antonio Mafi, Keyshawn Booty, Bryce Behringer, Demario Douglas, Amir Speed, Isaiah Bolden. Gonzalez was a player. Now, he didn't make an impact right away because he got hurt as a rookie. But Gonzalez was a legit player. Yeah, they kind of missed on Keon White, and there were some Keon White, Gabe Akis comps, so you hope that's not the case. Marte Mapu eventually came along as a contributor, mainly on special teams. Keyshawn Booty and Demario Douglas, really didn't see much of them as a rookie, but then they got going. And you got Bryce Behringer out of that, who's your starting punter. So that draft, that was not a terrible draft. That was not a great draft. That did not end up being a terrible draft. By the way, Jake Andrews is a starter elsewhere. Amir Speed is still kicking around the league. There were some guys in that draft. Chad Ryland was great in Arizona last year. Like, there were some guys that maybe they gave up too early on, but it was proven later on they could play. So maybe the comp is it ends up being like the 23 draft, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, especially when you're picking a little later. We got to hit the break. We can do more Patriots talk when we come back. 617-779-0985. Alex Barth taking you up until 5 o'clock on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, Alex Barth taking you up until 5 o'clock. I know I said we were going to do more Patriots, but we do have a Red Sox update. I mentioned the last headlines there. The Red Sox had made a roster move to get Romy Gonzalez on the roster, Mickey Gasper getting optioned. They also needed to make a move to get Romy Gonzalez off the 60-day onto the 40-man. That move has now been announced. Roman Anthony has been moved to the 60-day IL. Now, that is retroactive. So he's only going to miss a few more days. It will be right around the 4th. Actually, I should see exactly what day it was that he went out, because I believe his 10-day IL placement was retroactive, because if you remember, they told us when he got hurt, he might not even need an IL stint. So that was May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And that was, I don't know why it's telling me 310 days ago. That's not correct. That was 55 days ago. All right, so he's got like another week. It doesn't really extend it that much. But I think it just hammers home the point that this is another situation which the Red Sox have kind of tripped and fallen over. Roman Anthony was not supposed to miss a lot of time. I shouldn't say it that way. Not that he wasn't supposed to miss a lot of time. We were told Roman Anthony would not miss a lot of time. When the injury first occurred, the messaging from the Red Sox was that, yeah, he's going to go back to Boston and get tested, and we'll see there. Was basically the line. Hurt himself swinging a bat. It was a game in Detroit. And Chad Tracy thought he was going to come back. The quote that night from Chad Tracy, I have it right here. Imaging tonight was negative, but we're going to send him back to Boston to see our hand specialist and just let him look at it and make sure. Tracy relayed. I think the whole point is to get him back with our specialist to see him and see how he is. If everything's good, we'll get him back here. But we got to get him back there first. So they were talking about him potentially returning to Detroit and playing in that series. And now he's going to miss 60 days. Not 60 more days again, but 60 days. Multiple setbacks. And the same thing happened with Garrett Crochet. When Garrett Crochet got hurt, they said there was no cause for concern. And this, to me, is a big part of the problem with the Red Sox and how they're perceived. It's not just what they do, it's how they go about it. I talked about this a little earlier with Keegan. They're addicted to the positive spin. Anytime anything happens, we hear right away it's not that bad. The Red Sox are Leslie Nielsen and Naked Gun in front of the factory that's exploding. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Nothing to see here. And eventually reality just catches up with them. And there's should be questions about the medical staff and all of that, but it becomes that much more frustrating. Just say you don't know. Just say, like, the injury just happened a couple hours ago. Nobody's really going to blame you if you don't know. Just say you don't know. So, look, Anthony had been shut down again. I think it was the third time he was shut down due to more pain in the hand. He wasn't swinging a bat. He probably wasn't going to return in the next 5 days anyway. It's highly unlikely, it feels like. So, ultimately, this news doesn't mean much. It just, again, reinforces why this season has been so frustrating. And that's a thought on that. 617-779-0985. Back to the Patriots. Steve in Salem. Steve.
Hey, Barth.
Hey.
Yeah, look, I was thinking about the Gonzalez situation, and it dawned on me that, you know, I wasn't one of these people that was on board with the A.J. Brown trade because I didn't want to give up a first, even the 2028 first. But then I thought about it some more. I mean, the Patriots have never really been the type of team, at least under Kraft's leadership, to pay top of the market for, you know, like corner, like elite positions. even Brady. So if the Patriots, this is just my hunch, but I think that if they could get a similar package to what Kansas City got for McDuffie, like especially in next year's draft, which is supposed to be much better, I think they would jump at the chance at something like that. Just wanted to get your thoughts. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. I'd be surprised. One, Gonzalez is a better player than McDuffie, and he's younger. They claim the whole Elliott Wolf thing, pack away, draft and develop team. We've heard that so much from them the last few years. This is draft and develop. You drafted Gonzalez. You identified him. They made a great play of the board to get him that night. And look at the player he's become. Like, if you don't pay him, it sends a horrible message to everybody else. You make your team worse. You're drafting a corner with the hopes he becomes Christian Gonzalez. I don't think they're going to be that worried to recoup that first-round pick that they would trade Gonzalez to do it. You're also not going to get that kind of offer right now. That was an off-season offer. You knew exactly where the pick was. Those picks become less valuable before they're slotted. So I'd be surprised if they did something like that, and I'd be disappointed if they did something like that. Now, is there a chance that they pay Gonzalez and then move off another player in the immediate future to level the books, a guy like, say, Christian Barmore? That might be where the other shoe drops. You know, Carlton Davis is technically signed for 2 more years, but this is the last year of guaranteed money. Do they move on from Carlton Davis before the last year of his contract? Do they move on from Hunter Henry's in a contract here, but like players like that, Ramondre Stevenson, they can start to get out from his contract. Another shoe could very well drop for how this is balanced financially. I think there is a better chance that they re-sign Gonzalez and then trim elsewhere. Maybe one of these guys at a less premium position that's making elite money. Again, a Christian Barmore, somebody like that. I think there's more of a case for that, Ramondre Stevenson, than they don't bring Gonzalez back. If Gonzalez is not here long-term, that's a disappointment. And it should be viewed as disappointment. It should be talked about as disappointment. Short of like 3 first-round picks, or they get Justin Jefferson or something, right? If it is, as you mentioned, comparable to McDuffie, or the real comp, if they're going to move him to me, is Sauce Gardner, which was 2 picks. Sauce Gardner, closer in age. He's a boundary corner, not a slot. Was drafted higher. Like, that's the comp to me. And that was A.D. Mitchell in 2 firsts. Even that for Gonzalez, and I think that was an overpay for Sauce Gardner. I don't think Sauce Gardner's as good of a player, but that's clearly how he's viewed. You would have to do that kind of deal to even start talking about it, I think. And anything, if they trade Gonzalez for 1 first, that's a pretty big disappointment. And to bring up the A.J. Brown trade, I know some Eagles fans were like flirting with this idea and getting excited about it. I said the whole time, Gonzalez for A.J. Brown is a non-starter for me. And if it's essentially just that with extra steps, that would be pretty disappointing. I think that would be a step backwards for them. Now, if, again, they get the grandfather haul, by all right, if it's Justin Jefferson, I'll take the elite corner over the elite, or I'll take the elite receiver, over the elite corner. You know, if they could have gotten the Browns to do Myles Garrett, like that kind of thing, but I don't know. I'm just saying things now. Like that, I don't think that trade was ever there. I don't think that trade is realistic. But they should absolutely pay Christian Gonzalez. And a happy birthday to Christian Gonzalez, by the way. This is his birthday today. So how about, get something done. Get him a little birthday present there. That might be a nice thing for them to do. And then pay him, pay May, and then you're kind of caught up. We'll see what happens with these tackles. We'll see what happens with Will Campbell, Caleb Lomu. You know, I'm not saying that they should move on from Campbell. I'm not. I still think he can be a starting left tackle. The book's still out on him. Lomu hasn't played an NFL snap. And then they'll have that pause potentially in 28, and they might not have a first-round pick to pay. So the Ducks you pay Gonzalez, you start to get the Ducks in an order, is where they're at. You have any thoughts on that? You disagree? What would you trade Christian Gonzalez for? 617-779-0985. One more full segment left. It's Alex Barth on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, Alex Barth taking you up until 5 o'clock. Last chance to call, 617-779-0985. We've talked a little bit of everything today. We've done some Patriots, did some Celtics and Bruins to open the show. The Red Sox, if you missed the news, Roman Anthony moved to the 60-day IL. That only extends his absence technically at least 5 days, but it didn't seem like he was coming back in that time anyway. Just more injury frustration from the Red Sox there. There was one other thing I saw today that was kind of cool in the news. And Jeff, I know you're a big video game guy. You'll appreciate this. So the rollout of the new college football and Madden video games are in full force. The college game drops, I think like the early access is next week. I think it's before the holiday. And then Madden will be, followed a month later, as it usually does. They are bringing back, for those who remember playing those EA games way back, and when you turned the game on, you would see a player or a coach or somebody, I think there's one with cheerleaders, right? And it would be whoever it was. This is the first thing when you turn the game on, before you got to the menu, some player saying, EA Sports, it's in the game. And that was like a cool thing.
They did it for the Tiger Woods games, too.
Every sport.
Stuff. It was great.
Not just football, every sport. And there would be, I don't know, probably about 20 of them, and they would just randomly cycle through as you played the game. And they got rid of it. It has to have been at least 10 years since those have existed. Probably more, right? And they're back.
It seemed like that was a big, like a PS2 era
yeah,
thing. I think maybe they got rid of it in the 3 era.
It might have gotten to the Xbox 360, some of the very early ones, but that was it. But it's back. At least for College Football 27. They released a couple of them today. What a nostalgia hit. And a good, there was no reason for that to ever go away. None. And also, people say, oh, do you really care? You skip it. No, I will sit and watch those. It's 5 seconds. I'll sit and watch them. So good job. That's a win. It's a minor thing, but it's a win.
They've been doing really good. What's the third year that college football's been back? Every year they've really been doing a good job at enhancing it and really putting forth an effort towards it. Madden, on the other hand,
so Madden, 3 years ago, people got really mad that Madden wasn't progressing the way they wanted them to. It was all based on the Ultimate Team mode, which is the pay-to-play online. The people who play it are really into it, but most traditional Madden players aren't into that. And so they kicked off a 3-year window to make these improvements, and this was the third year, especially for things like franchise mode. They completely overhauled it this year, so the expectations are high, and I know you've heard that before probably. If you go back and look and watch the reveal, it actually looks very different now. So they've used AI to, each player will have his own personality, and they put a bunch of stuff in that they've taken out, like contract holdouts and things like that, so the team building thing is not going to be repetitive because it's all truly random, which is good. Because it used to be you could just glitch it and be nasty in, 2 or 3 seasons. And that wasn't that hard. If they fix
Madden, hopefully they can do NHL next because that game has been the same for the last 15
It's been brutal. There's been a little buzz about NHL I've seen. EA's stepping up and now they're kind of saying some of the similar stuff is going to, and they brought stuff from Madden to Chell. They brought the superstar players.
Yeah. You have there's there just hasn't been a very huge change in that game.
No,
for the longest time. They use the same player names, the same play-by-play. They haven't changed anything in the last 10 years.
No, they do need to update it, but hopefully that comes with this. You would think. You would hope. And if you're making a video game right now, you'd better lock in. Because, what is it, November? It's Patriots bye week. 19th. I love that you have that off the top of your head. GTA 6.
Oh, I can't wait.
You should see the smile Jeff has on his face right now.
Oh, I pre-ordered it the other day. I'm all in. I can't wait. It's all I see right now from here until November.
And it's the Patriots bye week, too.
Is it really? Oh, yeah. That's so good.
It worked out. So it's that Thursday. So they'll play Sunday. I'll have availability Monday, Tuesday, usually a little on Wednesday. I'm off that Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, that's
you don't expect it. I'll do Sunday kickoff on Sunday. I'll drag myself in here. 3 or 4, because it's only the story mode. It's not online. They're doing them separately.
They haven't even really announced anything in regards to the online portion of the game yet, which I'm kind of hoping, well, not hoping, but I'm kind of nervous that this might be another thing that you're going to have to probably pay for.
Oh, that would be.
I don't think it's going to be like, a pay per month type deal, but I feel like
it's a separate game, like its own separate game. That would be. But you would think they would then announce it and do some sort of like bundle.
I would hope so, but the way they've been marketing this game is just unlike anything they've ever done before. Like, we would have like so much more information now for previous Rockstar games. They're so tight-lipped on this. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is because I like that they delay. I never grew up playing online games. I didn't have that until I was in college. So like Halo, Call of Duty, GTA. I was always just playing the story mode, and that was it. I got left out. Like my friends were doing the other ones. We just didn't have online. So I like the story mode, and I feel like if you release them at the same time, everybody's going to jump right to online. Nobody's going to play the story. You miss out on it. I like that they space it out, but that would be a bummer if it's just like a separate game, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, if it is going to be a separate entity, I would hope that they would have added, like maybe they've been upgrading, Los Santos to be more in tune of how the graphics and everything are going to look for Vice City.
They are doing one more Los Santos like big DLC, which I was kind of surprised by.
They're going to be a new heist. I think the second week in July?
I think it's the 2nd of July. I think it's next week.
Oh, there we go.
But, because I'm not going to, I haven't played GTA for a minute. First of all, the game's huge, and I have the 500 gigs, so it's like if I want to play other games, I can't also have it on my console. But it just got, the last few updates weren't good. It got kind of old. The, couple of weeks before it comes out, and I don't think I'm going to be alone in this. I think everybody's going to jump back on GTA 5, and it's going to be a time. So it is good they're adding something new for that.
Oh, you see a lot of videos these days of the guitar solo of Purple Rain playing. And it's
and the last drive around.
Mind when GTA 6 is almost done downloading, and it's just clips of them playing online from 5.
Well, that was I remember when the college football game came back, and the whole culture around that, and the thing that everybody did that I thought was funny is taking a knee on the first play for the 10 years we missed.
I love that.
And I started playing 14 again, right before it came out, and taking 14 out, taking it out and turning it off for the final time. There was a little bit of wow, it's been, because that game, I remember that came out when I was in college. That's all me and my friends played in college. I have a lot of good memories around that game. And GTA 5, I actually was never a big GTA guy until the pandemic. And then my roommate at the time was a big GTA Online player, and I got furloughed here, so I had nothing to do all day. And I was like, yeah, I'll set up an account and try. And I was just going, this was early pandemic, before you even knew if you could go outside. So I was just grinding big time.
You got it at a good time because there was a lot to do.
It was right after the casino heist came out. So I wasn't a big GTA guy, but now I'm I spent a lot of time on this. And I had some good memories with friends. It was a social thing. It's not it sounds nerdy just playing video games, but it was that's what you're doing with your friends in the pandemic. You couldn't go see each other for the first couple weeks.
That's all we did for a good month was just play that Warzone.
Warzone. So I also got into Warzone. I don't have good hand-eye coordination. So Warzone I won Warzone once. But that was not I'm not good at the first-person shooters.
Nah, me neither, but everybody else was playing it, so I'm you know what? Might as well just try it out.
Yeah.
Did win one, though.
It was fun, and they had some, side modes. There's one where you dropped in, on a truck. And that was but it wasn't the real one, so it didn't count, and the people who were hardos were nope, doesn't count. Doesn't count as a win. I won the real one once. I won the other one sometimes, but it's going to be, pressure's on. Pressure's on if you're announcing another video game right now.
I mean, they usually do their state of plays, PlayStation and Xbox, and all the video games that are coming out within the next 5 to 6 months. I don't think there's any games dropping in November. They're all
you got to get them all out, and then
or September.
And I mean, the football one, July and August, they're getting a head start. You'll still have the sports games, but no, you don't. Everybody's clearing the deck.
Wolverine is September. I know there's a bunch of few big ones that aren't even going near November 19th.
Nor should they.
No, because you're gonna get killed.
And then meanwhile, did you see Xbox just announced the price of the console went up $100?
I mean, PlayStation did that about 6 months ago. I would like to
it's
get
not
a
a coincidence.
Pro to play 6 on.
Yeah.
It's $900.
Are you serious? That's what I'm worried because I have one of the small Xboxes. I'm worried it's going to catch on fire when I turn it on.
That and storage space too, because
they have the
computers are like insane.
So the external drives are like $200.
Yeah, it's insane.
But I think my Xbox is only 500 gigs, and I think they said the game's going to be 6 something.
Yeah, I was looking the other day. Red Dead Redemption 2 is like 210. I want to say
It's
on
gonna
my PlayStation,
dwarf
and that was the PS4.
It's going to be so much
this game will
bigger
probably
than
be
that.
double that size,
Yeah.
if not triple.
But it's going to be fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's good because it's going to be a cultural thing too.
I mean, they've put 10. I don't count 13 years because they were doing their other thing. But I mean, I guess you could say like 13 years they've been, kind of developing this game. They're putting a lot into it. And I don't know if you ever played Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah. I
still play that game, and I still get amazed at like little things that I find.
Oh, yeah. The details in that are unbelievable, and they have to top that.
And they will. I have no doubt in my mind they will.
This has to be the most anticipated video game ever.
Yeah, it's definitely, I would say, number one. I mean, I think they're the number one just pre-orders. It's the number one selling game on the PS Store right now.
Wow. And that was only 2 days ago, and it's still 6 months to go.
Yep.
Or, no, it's less than 6 months
5 months
now, right? 5 months. It should have been out because it was really supposed to be out like last month.
Yeah, and I never thought it was going to come out it was like May 26th, I think it was.
Yeah.
Because there's, you got the World Cup going on. It's summertime. Like, they would not have been able to. Even though it's a demanding game, nobody was going to play. Everyone was on vacation.
A May
November's
release
the sweet
seemed
spot.
weird. Like, if they told me it was February, like that kind of spring, I'd buy more. Like, right after the Super Bowl, too, like football season's over.
Perfect time, yeah.
That would have been good. But I'll take the Patriots bye week. I'm not complaining. We got one more segment to go here. We'll wrap it up next. It's Alex Barth on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, wrapping it up. Another 10 minutes till we're out of here. Closing out your weekend. What a weekend it was. It was a nice weekend. We've had a few nice weekends in a row now, knock on wood, after all that rain this spring.
Should be pretty good this weekend, too, for the 4th.
Need it. I already got 2 tee times booked. That's
Thursday's
around
gonna
the
be
4th.
brutal. Thursday's going to be 100.
Not on Thursday, Friday and Sunday.
Oh, no? Okay, good.
Yeah, so.
I'm going to a concert on Thursday, and I wasn't looking forward to it.
Who are you seeing?
What was that?
Who are you seeing?
Godsmack.
That's a tough one to see in the heat.
Oh, yeah.
That's a high-energy concert. You don't want to be moving around that much. Outdoors, I'm guessing?
Yeah, Xfinity.
Yeah, that's a tough one. The World Cup games are going to be, I mean, we always see the Europeans talk about the heat, and it's different over there. I saw it like 105 heat index in some places.
It's like you can't run into, over there, you can't just run into like an air-conditioned building.
No.
It was blowing their minds out here.
I did see one of the, and I don't know how to necessarily read the weather charts, but as I understood it, so Wednesday, it's going to be a heat wave a couple days. Wednesday, the heat index in Providence was 100 degrees, but in Boston, it was 75. So I think we're like right on the line as it moves in.
I've never seen a difference in temperature that.
It's right. So maybe I read it wrong. But then the next day was like 105 all around. But yeah, that's right. It's supposed to be tough week for a concert. There's a Gillette game tomorrow, World Cup game. Has that actually been? I think we know who that is now. We'd better know because the round of 32 has started. Canada, by the way, just took
Morocco and England
took a lead on South Africa. Is that what it is? No, I know it's Germany.
Okay.
Germany had locked in one of those spots. Germany and Paraguay. And then for the quarterfinal game, that's going to be here on July 9th, it will be 2 of Germany, Paraguay, France, Sweden, South Africa, Canada, Netherlands, Morocco. That's not a bad draw for Gillette. Some real team. You get France here, that's legit. Netherlands here, that's legit. Morocco's pretty good. Obviously, Germany, do they just play here again? The U.S. path got tough. Everybody was saying it was going to be easy. They should beat Bosnia, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
But then you might have Belgium. Then probably Spain or Portugal after that. France, Germany, Netherlands, Morocco after that. And that would be the semis. And then, I mean, the other side of the bracket, you got Brazil over there. You've got Mexico over there. You've got England over there. You've got Argentina over there. You got some heavy hitters on that other side. And no U.S. match on the 4th of July. I feel like every time there's the World Cup, we hear about the possibility, well, we could get the U.S. on the 4th, and that would be so big for soccer. They are going to play on the 1st, and then if they win their next match, would be on the 6th. The 4th is going to be the winner of Germany, Paraguay against the winner of France, Sweden, and then the winner of South Africa and Canada against the winner of the Netherlands and Morocco. So not a ton you can do with that.
No, it would have been funny to see England play on the 4th and lose.
So there was I
They're used to it.
We almost got U.S. England on the 4th, I think, last time. Which that's what you want. That's the ultimate. Oh, you know what it was? I think the Women's World Cup, we got the U.S. England on the 4th. Wasn't that when Alex Morgan scored and did the sipping tea celebration? Or was that might have been on the 3rd? And then we were all geeked up about it on the 4th. It was right around there.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on the actual 4th, so it had to have been close.
2019 Women's World Cup. That was obviously against England, right? You don't do that celebration against another country. Knockout stage. Here we go. It was July 2nd.
Yeah.
That was the semifinals. Then they beat Netherlands 2-0 in the final. But I remember everybody being geeked up about that on the 4th of July. Like, we beat England. Alex Morgan rubbed it in their face. We're going to win the championship. Like, that's the vibe you want.
It would have been perfect this year for 250. Oh, that would have been.
It would have been very good. But if they get a win on the 1st, like, we can still be hyped about it. And it'll still be like that the 4th of July when the World Cup happens, as long as they're still in it. That's always kind of a thing. I was ready to get. I'll tell you this. It's been a funny. I love international sports. I just think they're fun. The players play with a ton of passion. You get to see these kind of super teams. It's just a different version of the sport. It's a different kind of watch between. So the USA won gold at the Olympics, which was awesome.
We all lost our minds here in the
Oh,
States.
you were here. We were here for that. That's right.
Yes.
That was one of those single most fun I've had as a sports fan watching that game. But we had that, and then the U.S. started going on the run in the World Baseball Classic, and they lost to Venezuela. But I remember saying to somebody, if they won the World Baseball Classic, I was ready to get very unreasonable about the World Cup. And maybe it's just our year for 250. Unfortunately, Aaron Judge choked. The baseball team couldn't get it done. That sucks. I would have been very over the top about, we got to sweep. Because obviously there's not football, but we'll have the Summer Olympics again soon. We know we're the best at football. We don't need to play that one.
Will that be fun. Comparable to the 92 Dream Team when that happens? I mean,
so there is a football World Cup, an American football tournament that happens. I think it's every 3 years, and we send high school kids or D3 players, and we usually end up it ends up kind of being close, a bunch of D3 players versus the best players in Japan in the championship. Japan's the other really good country, and then Canada. That's what it is. So, but if we don't send any real,
we're not sending our best, the Dream Team in '92 with NBA.
We'll have flag football in a couple years. Although that might be the flag football guys. That might not be the NFL guys after what happened a couple months ago. I don't know if you watched any of that.
No, what was that?
They did, to kind of hype it up, they did this 4-team flag football tournament. So it was 3 teams of mostly current, a couple former NFL, or maybe it was 2 teams of mostly current, some former NFL players, and then the USA flag team, which is nasty, which wins all the time. Because there was this argument when flag got announced. It was we're going to send over NFL players. This is fun. And a bunch of the flag guys got pissed and took it personally. We're no, it's a different sport. This is our sport. Send us. We deserve to go. And everybody's what do you know? And they kind of kicked the ass of the NFL guys because it is a different enough sport. But the one guy, and they made some of the NFL some of the NFL quarterbacks threw bad picks, but Brady played in it, and he only played on 4th downs. There was you must have seen this throw. It went everywhere.
I remember seeing the throws, yeah.
Sidesteps the rusher, resets his feet, high point, back corner, and it's
he still got it.
Oh, he can still do it. Oh, that made me feel failed. Nothing against Drake May. But that throw, I saw that throw live. I was watching at the casino because I was there for March Madness. They had it on a TV. I was that just made me feel feelings again. That's a different, they don't move quarterbacks don't move like that anymore. Oh, it was good. Send Brady with the flag guys, I guess.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Do it. Oh. What does Brady not have? A gold medal.
A gold medal. You give Tom Brady a gold medal? That's just a hat on a hat, isn't it? It's a hat on 7 hats. But no, I'm enjoying the World Cup though, and I'm enjoying it beyond the U.S. being good. The U.S. being good is cool, but I've enjoyed the rest of the tournament. So I'm going to go home and the games are over. Well, I'll watch some of it tomorrow. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in today. Fun show. Thanks for wrapping your weekend up here with us. I will be back Thursday. I'm in for Joe Murray on Thursday night, and then Friday, 10 to 2 on July 3rd. So we'll take you into the 4th of July weekend, and then I'm not on again till after the holiday. But holiday shift's coming up. I'll see you a ton. I'll talk to you a ton. Jeff Williams, thank you very much. Great job as always. Everybody enjoy what's left of the weekend. Have fun settling down. You're going out to dinner, whatever. Beautiful dinner on the water. You go somewhere, you get a table outside, get some seafood. That's the vibe right now. I'm going to go try to do that. And then I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
From the Top Fair Tire Studio, this is
strong finger all up and go.
This is